Chapter 294. Wrath of the Kingpa. Yi Fei didn't say much to Huang Xie. The best way to deal with such a despicable person was to beat him up. Beat him up ruthlessly. Beat him up until he was in pain. Beat him up until he cried. Beat him up until he was afraid of him. Hence, Yi Fei made his move. He slapped Huang Shu again on the spot and did not wait for Huang Shu to react. Another slap landed on the other side of Huang Shu's face. Without waiting for Huang Shu to scream, Yi Fei's hand, which was like an iron clamp, grabbed Huang Shu's neck. Pa pa pa. Pa pa pa. Following that, the only thing that could be heard in the entire arena was the crisp and resounding sound of slaps that kept ringing in the arena. Brother-in-law, save the goose. Huang Shu was completely dumbfounded. Due to the difference in strength, he was unable to break free from Yi Fei's control. He could only watch as palm after palm slapped his face in a frenzy. The sound was so loud and clear, yet it was also so crisp and pleasing to the ear. Just hearing that sound made many disciples feel a burning pain on their faces. Huang Shu, who had been slapped almost 100 times in an instant, had his face turn blood red. Broken teeth were spat out one by one in the rhythm of Yi Fei's slap. Many of the elders who saw this were shocked. How is this possible? This Yi Fei's golden body defense was clearly shattered when he blocked Nan Ruofeng's fist force. Huang Shu immediately followed up with a sneak attack. Yi Fei shouldn't have had time to activate his golden body a second time. How is he still uninjured? Many people's faces were filled with confusion. Only Nan Ruofeng noticed that there was still a shattered jade tablet at Yi Fei's feet. That's the invisibility talisman that I gave to Huang. Not only did it have the ability to conceal itself, but the array within it could also temporarily block attacks from martial honorables and below. It had actually fallen into someone else's hands, and even turned around to deal with Huang Shu? When Nan Ruofeng thought of this, he finally seriously sized up Yi Fei again. And on the arena stage, as Nan Ruofeng's incarnation saw Huang Shu being slapped in midair like a dog, he was immediately enraged. Stop! Nan Ruofeng's incarnation shouted. Yi Fei's actions were not only a slap to Huang Shu's face, but also a slap to Nan Ruofeng's face. You want me to stop, right? Fine, who asked you to be the eldest senior brother? I'll do as you say. Yi Fei finally stopped beating Huang Shu. In front of Nan Ruofeng's incarnation, he suddenly raised his leg and ruthlessly kicked Huang Shu in the stomach. Crack! Many people could clearly hear the sound of Huang Shu's internal organs exploding from the kick. Since his neck was no longer choked, Huang Shu could finally let out a complete and indistinct scream. Huang Shu felt that he was too unlucky. He had met Yi Fei 3 times and had been slapped 3 times. The pain made Huang Shu cry. Then, Huang Shu was also sent flying. He was kicked out of the arena by Yi Fei several hundred meters away. It was neither near nor far. He landed on the spectator stands and rolled to the side of Nan Ruofeng's feet. He fainted on the spot from the pain. Bang! Nan Ruofeng stood up with a gloomy expression. The jade chair he was sitting on shattered into pieces from Nan Ruofeng's anger. Sensing the anger of the main body, the incarnation that remained in the arena also became enraged. Yi Fei, you are very good. You have successfully angered me. Let me see what qualifications you have to enter Sword Peak. As for the rest of you, scram. Boom. Nan Ruofeng did not deal with Yi Fei first. Instead, he suddenly released a terrifying wave of quintessential essence that swept out in all directions. Yi Fei immediately felt a terrifying pressure descend on every inch of the arena. The pressure made it hard for people to breathe. How could he not know that his action of kicking Huang Shu out had truly angered Nan Ruofeng? Nan Ruofeng did not even care about limiting the martial realm of his incarnation. Yi Fei could clearly sense that Nan Ruofeng's incarnation in the arena had broken through the 10th layer martial ancestor realm due to his anger. He instantly entered the half-step martial saint realm. Furthermore, as his cultivation increased, the quintessential essence released by Nan Ruofeng's incarnation became even more terrifying. After Huang Shu, a few disciples who were still fighting with Zhao Yu could not control their bodies and flew out of the arena. Lin Xin and Yang Xiao held hands and squatted on the arena. Only then did they avoid the fate of being blown out. Zhao Yu's expression changed as well. He quickly sealed himself in ice. However, the ice on the ground quickly shattered under the pressure of Nan Ruofeng's incarnation's quintessential essence. On the other side, the expressions of the 10th prince and the others turned extremely ugly. The injured Shi Feng had already been blown to the edge of the arena. He would have fallen off the arena if he'd gotten any closer. Qi Chuchu looked at Nan Ruofeng's incarnation in horror and helplessness. Suddenly, she shouted at Yi Fei, "Yi Fei, quickly think of something. You caused this. If this incarnation goes berserk and breaks through to the martial saint realm, we will all be in danger. Don't worry. He does not have the ability. I will also not allow him to break through to the martial saint realm." Yi Fei's expression sank. He did not care about the incarnation going berserk. His gaze turned and suddenly landed on Shangguan Lu, who was also at the edge of the arena. At this moment, Shangguan Lu's situation was worse than Lin Sen's and Yang Zhao's. Under the pressure of Nan Ruofeng's incarnation going berserk, Shangguan Lu's entire body was sprawled on the arena. He could only stab the treasured sword in his hand into the ground to maintain his balance and not be blown off the arena by the berserk quintessential essence. Yi Fei also thought highly of the sword in Shangguan Lu's hand. This was because it was a low-grade weapon and should be able to withstand the tyrannical quintessential essence of the Demon Emperor scripture. "Shangguan Lu, lend me your sword." Yi Fei endured the pressure of the quintessential essence and walked in front of Shangguan Lu. "What? You want my sword? Don't you have your own sword?" Shangguan Lu was very unwilling. If he let go of the sword in his hand, with his strength, he would immediately be blown off the arena. However, Yi Fei did not have time to explain. His face sank as he said loudly, "Lend me your sword." Shangguan Lu lent it to him. The 10th prince, who was struggling in front, suddenly understood something and loudly ordered Shangguan Lu. Shangguan Lu's expression changed. He gritted his teeth and nodded. "All right, I'll lend it to you. I hope you won't disappoint the 10th prince." Bang! Shangguan Lu let go of the sword and his entire body was instantly blown off the arena by the berserk quintessential essence. At this moment, Yi Fei strode forward and grabbed the long green sword that was stuck in the ground. The sword's name was 3 Qi Qingfeng. "Good name, Nan Ruofeng. Let me use this Qingfeng sword to kill your incarnation." Yi Fei held the Qingfeng sword in his hand and a shocking sword intent and battle intent instantly exploded from his body. "Nan Ruofeng, fight with me!" Boom! The sword intent soared into the sky and the sharp radiance formed a huge sword shadow that slashed towards Nan Ruofeng's incarnation. At this moment, Nan Ruofeng's incarnation also moved. He seemed to be surprised that Yi Fei could not only move freely under such great pressure, but also dared to draw his sword against him. However, Nan Ruofeng then laughed. It was a mocking and disdainful laugh. "You overestimate yourself. Even if you haven't broken through to Martial Honorable, I can still kill you as a half-step Martial Honorable. How dare you show off in front of me with a mere 30% sword intent?" Bang! Nan Ruofeng's incarnation did not do anything in the face of Yi Fei's shocking sword radiance. He only stretched out a finger and pointed at Yi Fei's sword radiance the moment the sword radiance reached his body. The sword radiance instantly shattered. Even a 40% saber intent could not do anything to the incarnation, let alone Yi Fei who had just comprehended 30% sword intent. Not only that. Chapter 295. There's only one left. Devouring sword essence. Of course, Yi Fei wouldn't let Nan Ruofeng's finger touch him so easily. He flapped his golden rock wings and flew straight into the sky. The Qingfeng sword was inverted and a ball of pitch-black light suddenly appeared at the tip of the sword. It grew bigger and instantly formed a pitch-black black hole that enveloped Nan Ruofeng. Your sword will is not bad. Unfortunately, the sword will never be the strongest in the Taishan Holy Land. Covering the sky with one hand, Nan Ruofeng's body didn't move. He raised a hand and quickly grabbed at the sky. He also grabbed at Yi Fei's descending Qingfeng sword. When the black hole space collided with Nan Ruofeng's palm, Yi Fei suddenly felt an enormous resistance coming from the black hole space that had always been successful. Before he could understand what was going on, boom! The void shook. Nan Ruofeng's palm had already reached deep into the black hole. The devouring power didn't even have time to tear his palm apart. A terrifying true qi had already erupted from the black hole, causing it to explode. Nan Ruofeng grabbed the falling Qingfeng sword. Clang! It was clearly a body of flesh and blood, but when Nan Ruofeng's palm grabbed the azure-edged sword, it emitted the sound of metal clashing. Yi Fei could clearly see with his naked eye that a small crack had already appeared on the Qingfeng sword. This Nan Ruofeng's palm was actually so terrifying. Putting aside the fact that he could forcefully resist the low-grade treasure weapon, the azure-edged sword, he actually wanted to shatter the azure-edged sword with his bare hands. A hint of anger flashed across Yi Fei's face. Kill! 7 killing fist. 7 kills through the sky. Realizing that the Qingfeng sword was unable to block Nan Ruofeng's attack, Yi Fei held his sword with one hand and clashed with Nan Ruofeng's palm. With his other hand, he quickly punched out. 7 fist shadows, accompanied by a strong sonic boom, smashed down on the head of the incarnation below. The light of a grain of rice. Nan Ruofeng was not afraid. His face was filled with ridicule and anger. He grabbed the emerald-edged sword with one hand and raised his other hand to grab Yi Fei's fist shadow. He actually planned to break Yi Fei's 7 killing fist at the same time. Nan Ruofeng is too terrifying. Humph, is he the #1 true disciple and the strongest genius of the Holy Land? This Yi Fei wants to go against senior brother Nan? He's simply courting death. That's not necessarily true. Yi Fei isn't the only one on the stage. Boom! Just as Yi Fei's 7-kill fist was about to collide with Nan Ruofeng's fist, the nearby air started to vibrate violently. Yanbei raised his Yanling blade high up. The bright blade light formed a wide river that cut towards Nan Ruofeng's avatar at the waist. 10,000 miles of bloody slaughter, blood saber severing divine soul. Was Izar. Is the Izar or is 10 are is of course was were is was were was it? Was of course were was. Was. Were was. Domineering aura. Chi-Chu-Chu followed closely behind. Her innate tyrannical fist was strong and ferocious. It shattered the space and charged at Nan Ruofeng with an indomitable aura. The attacks of Yi Fei's group of 4 practically hit Nan Ruofeng's incarnation at the same time, and all of them dealt fatal blows. After all, this was just a clone and not Nan Ruofeng's real body. They didn't have to worry about killing him. Even a true martial honorable would die in an instant under the full force of the 4 experts' attacks. No matter how strong Nan Ruofeng was, this clone's strength was only half a martial honorable. Nan Ruofeng couldn't avoid suffering serious injuries. Yi Fei's 7-killing fist directly shattered one of the clone's palms. Yanbei and the 10th Prince's swords also cut deeply into the clone's body, almost cutting it in half. Before the clone could counterattack, Chi-Chu-Chu's strong innate tyrannical fist had already arrived. Her fist was full of dominance, and it instantly pierced through the clone's body. Kill. Lin Sun, Yang Xiao, Shifeng and Zhao, you were afraid that they still wouldn't die. They used the last of their strength and mercilessly attacked the clone with their strongest attacks. A group of ants dares to stop me? Then prepare to receive my wrath, external incarnation. Nan Ruofeng's incarnation suddenly exploded. However, it wasn't destroyed. In the instant it exploded, 8 more identical clones appeared. They charged towards everyone present from all directions. Boom! The entire place was in an uproar. All the disciples were stunned. On the stage, Yi Fei's face flashed with fear. This Nan Ruofeng was too terrifying. It was fine if he used his hair to create clones, but this clone could also create external clones. A total of 8 clones charged towards the remaining 8 people present. Heaven and earth dominating palm. Boom, boom, boom. 8 majestic palms slapped towards Yi Fei and the others at the same time. Everyone frantically retreated, but the speed of the 8 clones was too fast. Lin Sun and Yang Xiao were the first to be hit, spitting out mouthfuls of blood as they were sent flying out of the battle stage, followed by muffled groans. Zhao Yu and Shi Feng were also hit and sent flying out of the battle stage. Even if I lose, I will still destroy one of your clones. Heaven flying immortal. Chi Chu Chu vomited blood and was sent flying out of the stage. However, the instant she was sent flying, she finally succeeded in using her trump card. Chi Chu Chu condensed all the true origin in her body and turned it into sharp flower petals. In an instant, a corner of the stage that had already turned into a sea of flower petals suddenly exploded. It was as if a half-step martial saint had exploded. The clone that attacked Chi Chu Chu was caught off guard and immediately exploded, not even leaving behind a corpse. This scene deeply shocked everyone present. Chi Chu Chu actually managed to destroy one of Nan Ruofeng's clones? In the spectator stand, Nan Ruofeng's eyes suddenly became gloomy and he let out a cold snort. This cold snort caused the 7 avatars in the arena to tremble. Then, an even more terrifying storm of true origin erupted from these avatars. Oh no, Nan Ruofeng is serious. Jing Wushou was the first to feel that something was wrong and wanted to stop it. Suddenly, an incomparably terrifying aura descended upon Jing Wushou. Even someone as strong as Jing Wushou felt his breathing stop for a moment, even though he managed to break free from that aura. However, this short period of time was enough for the clones in the stage to launch their strongest attack. Extermination strike. The 7 clones flew into a rage at the same time and waved their fists. 6 of them rushed towards Yan Bei and the 10th prince, who Nan Ruofeng thought were the most difficult to deal with. Only one of them rushed towards Yi Fei. Kill. The 7 clones opened their mouths and waved their fists at the same time, causing the void to shatter. Under such an attack, no matter how strong Yan Bei and the 10th prince were, they were unable to withstand it. They could only risk their lives and kill one of Nan Ruofeng's clones at the same time. They were already sent flying out of the stage. In the entire stage, there was only one person left, and that was Yi Fei. Yan Bei and the 10th prince who were sent flying looked at Yi Fei at the same time and shouted, "Yi Fei, it's all up to you. Don't let us, the experts of the Mountain River list, be humiliated. Yes, we can't defeat the real Nan Ruofeng. Don't tell me we can't even defeat a single strand of his hair? Yi Fei, do your best. Do your best." Chapter 296. That Sword Stroke. They could not blame the experts of the Mountain River list for being angry. Nan Ruofeng was truly a bully. He first used a single hair to humiliate everyone. Following this, during the battle, he suddenly raised his cultivation from the 10th layer Martial Ancestor realm to the Half Martial Highness realm. Furthermore, he was so despicable as to use his Martial Emperor realm clone to create 8 clones, thus increasing the number of targets of the battle from 1 to 8. How could anyone resist this? Even though none of the elders and disciples present dared to say that Nan Ruofeng's actions were wrong, Nan Ruofeng's actions still deeply humiliated every expert present. Let alone the 10th princes, Even Yi Fei could not tolerate this. 10th Prince, Lin Sen, Yang Xiao, don't worry, all of you have not killed the incarnations, leave them all to me. The glory of the mountain river list cannot be tarnished. Our dignity is not something you can trample on as you please. Yi Fei held the azure-edged sword in his hand as he felt a sense of regret. If he hadn't been overly cautious and had used his strongest sword technique early on, Nan Ruofeng's clone definitely wouldn't have been so insolent, and everyone's dignity wouldn't have been trampled on. Now, he wanted everyone to regain what they had lost from Nan Ruofeng's clone. Nan Ruofeng, I will definitely slay you in the next 2 moves. Yi Fei raised his Qinfeng sword and coldly pointed it at Nan Ruofeng's remaining 5 incarnations. These 5 incarnations were the final strength of Nan Ruofeng's hair. They were also the final advantage that the 10th Prince and the others had fought for with all their strength. Whether it was for himself or for everyone else, Yi Fei would never allow himself to lose. Especially losing to someone like Nan Ruofeng. Kill. An astonishing sword will soar into the sky. Yi Fei no longer held back. The terrifying sword qi swept across the entire arena. Finally, it tore the sky apart and formed a huge black hole. 30% sword essence, devouring sword essence. This Yi Fei can be considered a rare genius. Even if he can't compare to Nan Ruofeng and Jing Wushou, he's still on par with the 10th Prince and Yan Bei. Elder Hong Lian gave his evaluation when he sensed Yi Fei's sword light. Ha ha ha, he doesn't have a special constitution. No matter how high his talent is or how strong his comprehension is, this child's achievements will be limited. In the future, not only will he not be able to compare to Nan Ruofeng and Jing Wushou, even the 10th Prince and Yan Bei will have to look up to Yi Fei. Overestimating himself. Even the 10th Prince and the others weren't a match for Nan Ruofeng's incarnation. What did he say earlier? That he would kill Nan Ruofeng's incarnation with 2 strikes? The elders discussed animatedly as they watched the battle on the stage. Many of them simply revealed cold smiles on their faces. Nan Ruofeng, who was in the spectator stands, also sneered disdainfully when he heard this. The higher a martial artist's cultivation goes, the more important it is to have a special body constitution. Jing Wushou, are you all confused? How could you let such a mediocre person enter Sword Peak? How dare you say such things to me now? Kill him, Nan Ruofeng said coldly. He directly ignored the Mountain River List's rule of not killing. In front of the thousands of disciples and hundreds of elders, he publicly ordered his incarnation to kill Yi Fei. The entire place was silent. No one dared to express their dissatisfaction. This was Nan Ruofeng, this was the power of a martial king. Only a few people who understood Yi Fei, like Jing Wushou and Zhao Yu, were secretly anticipating something. On the stage, upon hearing Yi Fei's words, Nan Ruofeng's remaining 5 incarnations all sneered in disdain. Aunt, I originally did not want to kill you, but since you overestimate yourself, then I would like to see how you will kill me with 2 strikes. Die. Bang. 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 Nan Ruofeng's 5 incarnations all revealed killing intent at the same time. They took a step forward, and this step caused many of the martial Honorable Realm elders to be shocked. It was obviously an extremely powerful combination array. Even if they were martial honorable experts, if they were to fall into it, they would be killed in 1 strike. A pressure that was as heavy as the mountains and seas came from all directions, crushing down on Yi Fei. Yi Fei's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. Facing 5 half-step martial honorable incarnations at the same time, even if it was him, he would feel the immense pressure. After that, the pressure turned into an astonishing fighting intent. The sword aura was dazzling. Yi Fei's entire body was dazzling with golden light. The war demon golden body was instantly activated. Yi Fei endured the pressure and took a step forward, ignoring the 5 incarnations and the terrifying pressure from the combination array. Nan Ruofeng's 5 incarnations were enraged at the same time. 5 terrifying hands covered the sky and enveloped Yi Fei. The entire stage was filled with Nan Ruofeng's indifferent, cold, and emotionless voice. "Kneel down and accept your death." Bang! With just 2 words, the sky shattered and the stage cracked. The place where Yi Fei was standing sank rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. This was the true strength of Nan Ruofeng's incarnations. Although they were only half-step martial honorables, the crowd did not doubt that even a real martial honorable would be instantly killed by Nan Ruofeng's incarnations. Heaven-burying sword. At that instant, Yi Fei raised the Qinfeng sword in his hand and uttered the words coldly. The words were spoken in a calm, serious, and without the slightest hesitation. It was as if Yi Fei had drawn out his sword to bury the heavens and earth. The sky that had been shattered by Nan Ruofeng instantly came to a stop. Following this, the entire heavens and earth came to a stop. Then, it began to tremble, repelling the terrifying sword. "How is this possible? You're just an ordinary person. How could you control the force of the heavens and earth and restrict my movements?" "Unfortunately, it's useless. An ant will always be an ant." Nan Ruofeng laughed coldly. His 5 incarnations unleashed a vast amount of true energy at the same time, allowing them to move forward and ignore the repelling force of the heavens and earth. Yi Fei wore a stern expression as he calmly shook his head. "That's right. I'm just an ordinary person. In your eyes, I'm just an ant. However, don't forget that every expert starts off as an ant. Everyone starts off as an ordinary person. Nan Ruofeng, take my second sword. Heaven-devouring sword." Bang! The repelling force of the heavens and earth became even more intense. This time, Yi Fei did not restrict Nan Ruofeng's movements. Instead, he used his full strength to restrict the speed of Nan Ruofeng's heaven-covering hand. Meanwhile, a huge spatial crack had already appeared in the shattered space above his head. Yi Fei circulated his quintessence and stretched out his hand with all his might to grab hold of this spatial crack. Slash! Yi Fei grabbed the crack and turned it into a giant pitch-black sword. It swept across the place and surrounded Nan Ruofeng's 5 incarnations. Die! Rumble! Just at this moment, Nan Ruofeng's 5 heaven-covering hands also brought with them the astonishing power of Mount Tai as they fiercely slammed towards Yi Fei's body from different directions. They then collided with Yi Fei's swordlight, causing a shocking explosion. The entire arena was torn apart by the attacks of the 2 people. Smoke and dust flew everywhere. In the spectator stands, all the elders stood up. All the disciples around the arena widened their eyes. Lin Xin and Yang Xiao were nervous, while the 10th Prince and Yen Bei were shocked. Zhao Yu clenched her fists and bit her red lips. A trace of fear suddenly appeared in her eyes. She was afraid that she might never see Yi Fei again after this battle. "Sister-in-law, don't worry. With your brother protecting him, these people from the sacred land won't be able to hurt him." Wang Bai appeared out of nowhere. His expression was solemn and his 4 eyebrows fluttered in the wind. He looked less comical and more dignified. Whoosh! Elder Hong Lian and Jing Wu Shou waved their hands at the same time, dispersing the dust in the arena. In the middle of the arena, there was a clear figure lying on the ground. He was slowly crawling up from the ruins of the arena with difficulty. At the same time, there were 5 other figures, standing around coldly without moving. They stared coldly at Yi Fei, who was crawling up from the ruins. "Ant!" Nan Ruofeng's incarnation looked down at Yi Fei with disdain. "That's right, the current me is indeed not as good as you." Yi Fei sighed. He finally stood up shakily and threw away the 2 halves of the green-edged sword in his hand. Taking a deep breath, Yi Fei suddenly said in a deep voice, "But even if we're ants, we still have our dignity. Even if we're ants, our anger can still shatter a towering mountain." Bang! Following Yi Fei's words, the mountain river list that was originally erected behind the arena suddenly split open from the middle. The gigantic mountain fell down and crashed into the surging river below. Chapter 297. Mountains and Rivers Shatter. Boom. The mountain river list actually shattered. All of the clan elders watched on, all of the disciples watched on, no one could believe that it was real. The mountain river list that had existed in the sacred grounds for over 1,000 years, the symbol of the strongest in the inner sect, would actually be slashed apart by a single sword. But it was something that happened in front of everyone's eyes. No one could deny it. They had all seen it with their own eyes. Yi Fei's sword had not only killed Nan Ruofeng's powerful and invincible incarnation, he had even cut the mountain river list into two. Mountain river shattering. It's truly the mountain river shattering. That's great, ha 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 ha. Elder Red Lotus suddenly laughed maniacally. His laughter was filled with madness and joy. Yi Fei was baffled by it. This old man is laughing so crazily. Could this be the legendary laughter due to anger? What if the Holy Land wants me to compensate? How can I afford it? Cold sweat rolled down Yi Fei's forehead. If not for the fact that there were so many people around and he had nowhere to run, he would have definitely run as far away as possible. He was filled with regret. If he knew that the swallowing heaven style's might was so terrifying, he would have controlled it well, and only killed Nan Ruofeng's incarnation. Why did he have to kill the mountain river list cultivators as well? Of course, Yi Fei also knew that he had used all his strength in that attack just now. Under the pressure of Nan Ruofeng's incarnation, he was already extremely lucky to be able to use the heaven-devouring style. How could he have the strength to control the might of the heaven-devouring style? Ha ha, the heavens have blessed my Tai Xian sacred lands, the mountain river list is finally broken. Elder Red Lotus laughed maniacally, like a child who could not grow up. However, many of the people present could sense that this red-robed elder was genuinely happy and worried about the future of the Holy Land. What's going on? The mountain river list was destroyed by Yi Fei. Why didn't the clan elder punish Yi Fei, and is still laughing there? Heavens! Senior Brother Nan's incarnation was actually killed by Yi Fei. Doesn't that mean he is the current mountain river list rank 1? It can't be wrong. Yi Fei's sword was too terrifying. Not only did he cut down Nan Ruofeng's incarnation, he also destroyed the mountain river list. Such a terrifying sword, who can block it? The disciples below the stage did not understand why Elder Red Lotus was laughing wildly, but many of them finally realized something after recovering from their initial shock. Since Yi Fei had defeated Nan Ruofeng's incarnation, then it was destined that Yi Fei would be the number 1 in the mountain river list. He was also number 1 in the entire inner sanctum. Yi Fei, number 1 in mountain river. Many of the disciples present quickly cheered for Yi Fei. They had personally witnessed the birth of another expert in the inner sect. This Yi Fei is too crazy. The 10th Prince and Yen Bei laughed bitterly and shook their heads. They were conceited, but when they saw Yi Fei's sword that could even break the mountain river list, their hearts could not help but tremble. Losing to him, I am not wronged. He deserves to be number 1 in the mountain river list. Shi Feng spat out blood. Looking at the 9 stone locks that he had destroyed, he sighed and turned to leave. This little brother is not simple. Seems like in the future I should call him little senior brother. Chi Chu Chu looked at Yi Fei with a gaze that became brighter and brighter. This brat, isn't he just a little stronger? What's there to show off? For some reason, Zhao Yu's heart was filled with anger. He could not help but have a strange enmity towards Chi Chu Chu. Lin Sen and Yang Xiao cheered, while Luo Shi and Wang Bai also laughed happily. But just as everyone was cheering for Yi Fei, suddenly Nan Ruofeng's cold snort came out from the spectator stand. Yi Fei, you are too audacious. The mountain river list is the symbol of the inner sect. You actually dare to destroy it. Bang! Hearing Nan Ruofeng's voice, the disciples who were cheering immediately became quiet out of fear. The joyous atmosphere became as oppressive as the night. No one dared to open their mouths. Even the 10th prince and Yen Bei, who were conceited, kept their mouths shut tightly. Because the person who spoke was not Nan Ruofeng's incarnation, but the real Nan Ruofeng, a martial king expert. Just Nan Ruofeng's cultivation was enough to suppress the entire mountain river list. Furthermore, Nan Ruofeng had another identity, the only direct disciple of Tai Xian's sacred lands, the future sacred lord of the sacred lands. And Yi Fei actually dared to directly kill Nan Ruofeng's incarnation in front of the future sacred lord. That was a slap to the face. Yi Fei's actions were too crazy, as expected of the most arrogant person in the inner sect. Many of the disciples who woke up immediately looked at Yi Fei with sympathy, ridicule and disdain. So what if you are number 1 in the mountain river list? You killed senior brother Nan's incarnation and offended Nan Ruofeng. Let's see how you survive in the sacred lands. Yi Fei, Zhao Yu, Lin Sun, Yang Xiao, Luo Shi, all of them looked at the figure standing upright on the stage with worry in their eyes. Hearing Nan Ruofeng's voice, Yi Fei turned around indifferently and looked at Nan Ruofeng coldly. No matter how daring I am not as daring as you, Nan Ruofeng. With just a single strand of hair, you actually want to suppress all of the experts in the mountain river list. You think that other than you, there is no one else in Tai Xian's sacred lands. You think that just because you are a martial king, you can cover the sky with one hand and scare us. Nan Ruofeng sneered upon hearing that. He was high up and looked down on everyone, and naturally had many clan elders who supported him. All of them stood up angrily and pointed at Yi Fei and scolded him. Presumptuous, Nan Ruofeng is the direct disciple of the sacred lands, the next sacred lord. You are just a disciple, and you dare to be disrespectful to the future sacred lord. Yi Fei, this old man has long heard of how arrogant you are in the inner sect, but from the looks of it, not only are you arrogant, you are also deranged to the point that it makes people's hair stand up. You even dare to behead the mountain river list. That is simply deceiving your master. Vile spawn, you think that just because you have a bit of talent you can talk to Nan Ruofeng like that, without a special body constitution. No matter how high your talent is, no matter how strong your perception is, you are still a mediocre person, and will never be able to step into the peak of the martial Tao. You are just a mediocre person. What qualifications do you have to talk to Nan Ruofeng? Shut up. Who said that the people of Sword Peak are mediocre? Stand up and fight with me. Yi Fei did not speak, but Jing Wu Shou was already enraged. The gigantic sword image, in a breath, had already reached the throat of the clan elder who was scolding the most fiercely. The clan elder was so scared that his legs were trembling. He immediately looked at Nan Ruofeng for help. Nan Ruofeng only snorted, and Jing Wu Shou's sword intent was instantly broken. Even Jing Wu Shou himself was unable to stand, and was once again forced back by Nan Ruofeng's martial king aura. Following that, Nan Ruofeng looked at the surrounding clan elders, and asked, "Disrespecting your elders, destroying the mountain river list, what do you think should be done with Yi Fei, elders? Cripple his cultivation, chase him out of the sacred lands." Ma Zai brought a group of mountain river list elites, and took the lead to shout, using that to express their determination to rely on Nan Ruofeng. Chapter 298. A man of great prosperity, the mountains and rivers were shattered, and the Holy Land flourished. These words weren't empty words. Rather, they were a prophecy that the first Holy Lord had made before he died using his lifetime's cultivation. However, with the passage of 1,000 years, this prophecy had almost faded from the minds of many elders. Those who were not truly concerned about the Holy Land and worried about the decline of the Holy Land would not pay attention to these words. Clearly, Elder Honglian was the kind of person who was wholeheartedly concerned about the Holy Land. So when he saw Yi Fei destroying the mountain river list with one sword, the red-robed elder laughed so crazily, laughing so happily. Now that she saw that Nan Ruofeng actually wanted to use this matter to punish Yi Fei, Elder Hong Lian absolutely wouldn't allow it. When the elders and disciples present heard Elder Hong Lian's words, their bodies trembled. Mountains and rivers shatter, and the Holy Land prospers? Does our Holy Land have such a prophecy? Indeed, it is just that in the past, no disciple dared to make a move on the mountain river list. Only this Yi Fei dared to do so, and luckily destroyed the mountain river list. Humph, what an opportunistic person. He is a mediocre person who doesn't even have a special body constitution. The martial king realm is the highest achievement he can achieve. Such a mediocre person actually wants to lead the holy place to prosper. How ridiculous! The elders were first shocked. Then, many of them revealed disdainful sneers. They thought that Elder Red Lotus had gone insane. He had actually taken the first-generation Holy Lord's final words as a prophecy. Now, he was so muddle-headed that he stood on the opposite side of Nan Ruofeng. However, Elder Red Lotus' status was different from the other elders. He was a red-robed elder, a high-level figure of the Holy Land. What he was saying now was the prophecy of the first Holy Lord. Nan Ruofeng could only endure his anger, his face revealing a humble smile. Elder Red Lotus, it is true that the sacred ground has such a prophecy, but the prophecy of the first-generation sacred leader, the most important thing was that when the mountain river list is destroyed, there will definitely be a genius who will lead the sacred ground to glory. He did not say that this person will be the person who will destroy the mountain river list. Why can't it be someone else who will stand on top of the mountain river list when it is destroyed? Nan Ruofeng's words were already very direct. If the elders present did not understand, then they would be fools. Immediately, an elder hurriedly added, that's right, all of us disciples of the mountain river list saw it with our own eyes. When the mountain river list shattered, Yi Fei was lying down, while senior brother Nan was standing majestically. All of us disciples thought that the prophecy said that the person who would prosper was actually referring to Nan Ruofeng. Senior brother Nan, what do you all think? Without waiting for the elder to speak, Ma Zai, who was standing below the stage, was the first to react. He immediately took the lead and bowed to Nan Ruofeng. He said excitedly in a loud voice, "Congratulations, senior brother Nan. You have become the person who will bring prosperity to our Holy Land. Congratulations, senior brother Nan. You've become the pillar of our Holy Land's prosperity." No one dared to not kneel. If they didn't kneel, they would offend Nan Ruofeng on the spot. Apart from Yi Fei, the 10th prince, and a few others, the thousands of inner and outer court disciples present all knelt to Nan Ruofeng and congratulated him. Nan Ruofeng was elegant and graceful, with a reserved smile on his face. But this smile, when he saw the 10th prince and the others standing, suddenly became gloomy. Countless of elders, with angry eyes, stared at Ma Zai, who was the first to kneel, secretly cursing him for being a bootlicker, for sucking up to Nan Ruofeng. He was even more shameless than them. At that moment, a portion of the black-robed elders thought of the benefits of sucking up to Nan Ruofeng. Many of them did not care about their faces. With a wave of their sleeves, they knelt down on one knee towards Nan Ruofeng. This caused Red Lotus Elder and the few other elders who were still standing to feel awkward. Nan Ruofeng continued to smile, his entire person calm and collected. His gaze quickly swept past all the elders who were not kneeling, and finally landed on Yi Fei, who was on the stage. "Aunt, do you see it now? This is the biggest difference between you and me. Now, do you still think that you will be the person who will bring prosperity to the Holy Land?" Nan Ruofeng said arrogantly. Yi Fei shook his head. "I am not a person who will bring prosperity to the Holy Land, and I am not interested in bringing prosperity to the Holy Land. That is too tiring." Nan Ruofeng's face lit up, feeling that Yi Fei was finally starting to understand the situation. He used an indifferent gaze to stare coldly at Yi Fei, as though he was waiting for something. Yi Fei obviously knew what Nan Ruofeng was waiting for. He was waiting for him to kneel down, because once Yi Fei knelt down, then the 10th prince and the others would have no reason to continue standing. Yi Fei could not help but laugh. He shook his head and looked at Nan Ruofeng. Nan Ruofeng, you are truly a hypocrite, forcefully pretending to be a person who will bring prosperity to the Holy Land. Don't forget, the prophecy only said that when the mountain river list is destroyed, there will be people who will bring prosperity to the Holy Land. It did not say that the prophecy person will be standing on the stage, and he can be one of us. For example, Jing Wushou, or the 10th prince, or maybe Ma Zai who is trying to curry favor with you. Huh. Hearing that, Nan Ruofeng's face changed, because Yi Fei's explanation was reasonable, and he immediately looked towards Ma Zai. Ma Zai felt like strangling Yi Fei to death, and then dragging him out to whip his corpse 10,000 times. Yi Fei, don't you dare slander me. My loyalty to senior brother Nan can be seen by the sun and moon. Ma Zai tried his best to curry favor with Nan Ruofeng. Ma Zai, luckily you did not enter the top 10 of the mountain river list. If not, I do not want to be on the same level as a dog that only knows how to wag its tail. Yi Fei said coldly. Fuck. Ma Zai's face was as red as blood. He jumped up and wanted to perish together with Yi Fei. Just at that time, a cold voice stopped Ma Zai. Kneel down. Nan Ruofeng ordered indifferently. What, senior brother Nan, Ma Zai's face flushed red. Kneeling down this time was different from kneeling down previously. Kneel down and bark like a dog. I will not say it a second time, Nan Ruofeng said coldly, not even looking at Ma Zai. Shua. All the disciples and elders were surprised by Nan Ruofeng's order, even though many of them knew that Ma Zai was shameless to curry favor with Nan Ruofeng, but to order Ma Zai to kneel down and bark like a dog, it was too humiliating. Ma Zai could feel many people's mocking gazes, but he had no other choice, because the one who gave the order was Nan Ruofeng. If he did not follow Nan Ruofeng's orders, then all his previous efforts would be wasted. Plop. Ma Zai finally endured the humiliation and knelt down. When he knelt down, he did not dare to hate Nan Ruofeng, but blamed all the humiliation on Yi Fei. He stared at Yi Fei with hatred and under everyone's gaze. Woof! Ma Zai barked out in humiliation. It caused many elders to be shocked. Yi Fei also looked at Ma Zai in disbelief. The former third-ranked expert of Mountain River List had truly opened his eyes. The 10th prince and the rest looked at Ma Zai with disdain. They did not dare to go against Nan Ruofeng, but they would definitely not be like Ma Zai, enduring such humiliation. Very good. Horse slaughterer, you have done very well. As a reward, from now on you will be my follower and join my mountain. I will personally give you pointers on your cultivation. Nan Ruofeng revealed a satisfied expression and casually tossed out a bone. Bang! Many of the Mountain River List experts who were looking down on Ma Zai all looked at him with envy and jealousy. The humiliation on Ma Zai's face also turned into joy. He never thought that just by kneeling down and barking like a dog, he would be valued so highly by Nan Ruofeng, to the point that he would personally guide him in his cultivation. It was such a huge gain. Ma Zai immediately felt that being Nan Ruofeng's dog was not a humiliation, but an extremely glorious thing. Nan Ruofeng laughed, pointing at the happy Ma Zai. He looked coldly at Yi Fei. Yi Fei, you see, this is the difference between you and me. So what if you are the first ranked on Mountain River List? An ant will always be an ant. An ant, you must have the awareness of an ant. Today, on account of Sword Peak, I will let you off, but next time, you better not try to challenge my authority. Nan Ruofeng said. He grabbed the unconscious Huang Shu and was about to return to his mountain peak. Wait! Chapter 299. The Empress Dowager leaves seclusion. 1 year later, we will fight. How domineering, how heroic. This Yi Fei isn't simple at all. In the imperial palace of the kingdom of Zhao, the emperor sat on the dragon throne, reading the information sent back from the Taishan Holy Land. His face flashed with a touch of passion and nostalgia. Once upon a time, he was also this high-spirited and full of heroic spirit. However, this passion, this heroic spirit, along with the passage of time, along with the old Empress Dowager's stubbornness, along with the dictates of the court, all of the emperor's heroic spirit was buried in memory and also buried in the passage of time. It's all that old witch's fault. If it wasn't for her, Zhao Qianjun wouldn't have turned into an evil spirit, Zhao Ji wouldn't have practiced evil arts, and most importantly, concubine Xing wouldn't have died because of this. Everyone says that the emperor is the supreme ruler of the world. He is second only to one person and above tens of thousands of people. But in the world of martial artists, I, as the emperor, am too vexed, too wronged. Why? Imperial Uncle Zhao, back in the day, you were a peerless genius who could dominate an army of 1,000. Why did you only imprison her and not kill her? Consort Xing, do you know how much we want to personally avenge you? But we can't. We're just a good-for-nothing. Even if we secretly cultivate day and night, we're still unable to summon the phoenix bloodline bestowed by our ancestors. The emperor sat paralyzed on the dragon throne, drinking jar after jar of fine wine. The wine flowed down the dragon throne, flowing all over the floor and onto the step. An old eunuch quietly knelt there. He was deaf and mute, so he couldn't hear what the emperor was saying. However, he understood why the emperor was sad and why the emperor was crying. The old eunuch didn't say anything. He unfolded his sleeves and knelt on the steps. He also knelt in the wine and kowtowed. The deaf-mute eunuch kowtowed very hard. It seemed that this was the only way he could persuade the emperor to be careful with his words and actions. Seeing this, the emperor laughed loudly. "Little Chun, how many years have you been following me?" The emperor smiled and asked the kneeling old eunuch. In fact, the old eunuch was not old. He was about the same age as the emperor, but the years of suppressed fear in the palace had crushed him, making him look like an old man. His behavior was timid. Raising his head, the old eunuch stretched out 3 fingers with great difficulty and gestured with his mouth. Then, he stretched out his palms and shook them. 30 years. That's right, it's been 30 years. Back then, you weren't like this. You were the #1 expert in the imperial city. I was the most promising prince of the imperial family, and Consort Xing was your most beloved woman. The emperor drank his wine and didn't seem to realize how much of a psychological impact his words had on the old eunuch. The old eunuch lowered his head in fear and did not speak. He could not speak either. He could only understand the emperor's meaning through the emperor's lips. Not caring about the old eunuch's fear or whether he could still hear, the emperor hugged the wine jar and suddenly said with hatred, "I know you like Consort Xing. I can also see that Consort Xing likes you the most, but the heavens play tricks on people. Who told me to be a prince? I absolutely cannot lose her. Even if she doesn't love me, I will use my entire life to love her." But the Empress Dowager, that vicious old witch, she ruined everything. We clearly agreed that Zhen would be her puppet and she would let Zhen and Consort Xing live happily together, but she lied to Zhen and you. She killed Zhen's most beloved woman. She turned Zhen's best brother into what he is now. Lu Chun, tell Zhen, do you still hate her? Are you still willing to join Zhen to take revenge on her? Don't think that Zhen is really a puppet and I don't know what's going on around me. Zhen knows that you are not really deaf and your martial arts are still there. Boom. The emperor's words deeply shocked the old eunuch. He raised his head and looked at the emperor in shock. He looked at his former good friend, who was now the emperor's minister. The emperor also looked at him, and an inexplicable light flashed in his eyes. Why? The old eunuch no longer looked humble, and his eyes revealed a questioning look. Because Zhen's daughter has grown up in the Holy Land, with her bloodline, she will receive the best protection from the Holy Land. Now Zhen has nothing to worry about. 18 years ago, Zhen endured humiliation and submitted to the Empress Dowager, that old witch. 18 years later, Zhen has nothing to worry about. Naturally, Zhen will complete the feat that Zhao Qianjun did not dare to complete. The emperor coldly hugged the wine jar and stood up from the dragon throne. A shocking aura was released from Zhen's body, causing the dragon throne to creak as it could not bear the weight. The old eunuch looked at the emperor's rising aura in shock. It rose from Martial Ancestor Realm Level 1 all the way to Martial Ancestor Realm Level 10. The emperor's hidden cultivation was actually so terrifying. Even the old eunuch, who had served the emperor for 30 years, did not know about this, let alone the Empress Dowager. Have you really made up your mind? The old eunuch suddenly trembled. Yes. The emperor did not hide anything from his former good friend, who was now his only trusted minister. He stood straight and was filled with sharpness. Bang! The old eunuch suddenly knelt down and kowtowed to the emperor again. His eyes were filled with regret and fear as he silently retreated to the side. When he reached the bottom of the stairs, he silently knelt down and faced the door. His body began to tremble. The emperor suddenly had a bad feeling. He took a few steps forward in shock, and the wine jar on his body shattered on the ground. Lu Chun, you betrayed me. I trusted you for 30 years, and you betrayed me for 30 years. The emperor saw 4 old eunuchs walking in through the door of the palace. After Eunuch Zhang died, they took over Eunuch Zhang and became the Empress Dowager's new eyes and ears. Before they appeared, the emperor did not even know that there were such people in the imperial palace. It was as if they appeared out of thin air and became half-step to martial honorables. The 4 old eunuchs did not speak. They held horsetail whisks in their hands and stood respectfully on both sides. Then, a trembling palace maid walked in step by step, supporting a noble woman who was wearing a phoenix robe and riding on a colorful cloud. Emperor, you have disappointed me. The noble lady looked at the emperor coldly, as if she was the one who ruled the world. Empress? Empress Dowager? Impossible, you old witch. Back then, Zhao Qianjun used a sword array to trap you in the Vermilion Bird Palace. Unless the power of the ancestor's sword is exhausted, otherwise. Suddenly, the emperor thought of something terrifying. The Empress Dowager also laughed coldly. Emperor, you've finally thought of it. Qianjun, that child, trapped me with the power left behind by Zhao Xinjian to suppress your imperial family's dragon vein. However, no matter how strong the dragon vein is, it will eventually dry up. Similarly, no matter how strong the Zhao family's ancestor was, he will eventually fall in these 1,000 years. No, that's impossible. The strength of the ancestor of the Zhao family is comparable to the Holy Lord. How could he fall so easily? The emperor could not believe it. But the fact that the Empress Dowager had come out was an ironclad fact. The emperor suddenly felt a great sense of fear. Back in the Vermilion Gate, the Empress Dowager had already suppressed the state of Zhao to the point of suffocation. Now that her real body had come out, just how big of a change would the state of Zhao undergo? Empress Dowager, who are you? What do you want after hiding in the Zhao family for so many years? The emperor suddenly calmed down and asked in a deep voice. Chapter 300 Sacred Land Disturbance. Taixien Sacred Land. The mountain river list had ended. But the disturbance from the mountain river list continued, causing many disciples to be shocked. Even at the direct disciple mountain, many of the higher-up elders and direct disciples who were in closed-door cultivation heard the news. Originally, Nan Ruofeng's return was a huge matter that shook the sacred land. What was even more shocking was that the mountain river list that had been in the sacred land for over 1,000 years, and was created by the first-generation sacred leader, was actually destroyed. What was even more exaggerated was that there were actually disciples from the mountain river list who publicly declared war against Nan Ruofeng, and requested to fight him in a year's time. After the shock, inside and outside the sacred land, a few people were surprised by Yi Fei's courage, while the majority of them were pointing at Yi Fei and gossiping. "Look, that's Yi Fei, he was lucky enough to get first place in the mountain river list, and actually does not know his place, and dares to challenge senior brother Nan Ruofeng. What, he's Yi Fei, from the looks of it. He is only at the 10th level of the martial ancestor realm. Any of our direct disciples can beat him to the point that he can't even crawl up, and he actually dares to challenge Nan Ruofeng. Who knows, maybe he is relying on the sword peak to support him, and wants to go crazy. Haha, sword peak, that's the peak with only 2 people, and they want to fight with a direct disciple like Nan Ruofeng. What a joke." The end of the mountain river list did not mean the end of the intersect fights, but instead became even more intense, especially when the news of Yi Fei and Nan Ruofeng's battle spread out. Not only did many elders come to the intersect to check on the destroyed mountain river list, even many of the direct disciples came to the intersect to watch the commotion. Yi Fei received the contribution points reward for being first place, and was about to walk out of the mission palace, when a few of the direct disciples who had returned from their missions stood by the side, and in front of Yi Fei, mocked him. This made Feng Xinyang extremely angry. "Master, they are too much, we are all from the same sect, for them to be like this, isn't it too much?" Feng Xinyang could not tolerate it. Yi Fei faintly looked at Feng Xinyang and asked, "Xinyang, could it be that even you think that I won't be Nan Ruofeng's opponent after a year?" This servant did not mean it that way, but Feng Xinyang was terrified. Ever since she heard that Yi Fei had destroyed the mountain river list, and even killed the martial king's incarnation, she no longer dared to treat Yi Fei as a junior, but treated him as a true expert and respected him. Rather than mocking Yi Fei, the surrounding true disciples were more jealous. That was because on the true disciple peak, Nan Ruofeng was the heavens. No true disciple dared to oppose his words. But the powerful Nan Ruofeng, when controlling the mountain river list, suffered a crushing defeat, and even had his incarnation destroyed by an inner sect disciple. It was something that they, as true disciples, could not do and did not dare to do, which made them extremely unhappy. Walk your own path, let a group of dogs bark by the side. Yi Fei thought coldly. He did not care about the mocking of the true disciples, and only looked at Feng Xinyang and said, "No buts, Xinyang, you just need to understand, if I say it, then I will definitely do it. Now, follow me to the auction." A few days ago, on the mountain river list, he had broken Shang Guanlu's low-grade treasure weapon, the green-edged sword, even though Shang Guanlu had clearly stated that she did not need Yi Fei to compensate. But the green-edged sword was broken by him, so he had the responsibility to compensate Shang Guanlu. Since Shang Guanlu did not need the contribution points, Yi Fei planned to personally go to the auction and buy a good sword to compensate Shang Guanlu. Haha, Senior Yi, congratulations on obtaining first place in the mountain river list. Senior, are you here this time to buy a good sword? The managers of the auction were all so enthusiastic. They were all experts of the 10th level of the martial ancestor realm, but they still called him Senior. For the Merchant Alliance to be able to open auctions in the various sacred lands, that was one of the reasons. Since they were so enthusiastic, Yi Fei did not keep a cold face, and revealed a smile. "That's right, I need a good sword. How many do you have?" "Senior Yi, what a coincidence! Over at Taixien Sacred Lands, there are not many experts who use swords. We only have one sword-type treasure weapon, and it is the low-grade green-edged sword." The manager of the Merchant Alliance invited Yi Fei into the auction embarrassedly. Yi Fei then knew that the green-edged sword that Shang Guanlu had lent him was actually a mass-produced one. No wonder the green-edged sword and the devouring spirit sword were both low-grade treasures, but the green-edged sword was much weaker. At least the devouring spirit sword had the ability to devour spirit fragments, while the green-edged sword did not. But with the green-edged sword, he could compensate Shang Guanlu, and consider it as returning a favor. Yi Fei happily took out his order badge and said, "Is this green-edged sword auctioned or bought directly? I want it." The manager of the Merchant Alliance's face darkened, and very seriously cupped his hands towards Yi Fei and said, "Senior Yi, this green-edged sword was originally going to be auctioned, but of course if Senior likes it, the Merchant Alliance can give it to you directly." "What, give it to me for free?" Feng Xinyang was shocked. A low-grade treasure weapon, at Zhao's side, could be considered a national treasure, and the Merchant Alliance actually did not even blink, and wanted to give it to him for free. Could it be that this was the benefit of being the first in the Mountain River list? Yi Fei looked deeply at the Merchant Alliance manager. He thought more than Feng Xinyang. He did not believe that there would be such a thing as a free lunch. "Manager, speak frankly, what is your motive?" Yi Fei asked sternly. "Senior Yi, since you asked, we will not hide it. In Tai Xian's sacred lands, Nan Ruofeng is the sky, and is the next candidate for the Sacred Lord. You have offended him, and to put it bluntly, your days in the sacred lands will definitely be very difficult, and you might even have the risk of dying, but our Merchant Alliance is different. You plan to recruit me?" Yi Fei was surprised. What was the background of the Merchant Alliance, to even dare to poach people from the sacred lands? "Our Merchant Alliance welcomes all capable people to join us. If Senior Yi is willing to join us, we will definitely welcome you. Of course, you do not have to agree now. We only hope that you know, if you feel that your days in the sacred lands are not satisfactory, and want to leave, the Merchant Alliance will always welcome you to join us." The Merchant Alliance manager clapped his hands, and gave Yi Fei a Merchant Alliance badge, and turned to leave. Another two maids from the Merchant Alliance carried a green-edged sword, and respectfully placed it in front of Yi Fei, and also turned to leave. In the entire process, the Merchant Alliance did not take a single cent from Yi Fei. Just this sincerity and generosity was enough to move many martial artists. Yi Fei's face revealed a look of surprise, and he stood in place, thinking. He was not a foolishly loyal person, and the more friends he had, the more options he had. In the end, Yi Fei put away the badge. However, when he saw the green-edged sword, Yi Fei sneered. "The sword is not bad, but unfortunately, I am not foolishly loyal, but that does not mean that I can be bribed. In the sacred lands, many people look down on me and laugh at me for overestimating myself. They think that I am mediocre and cannot defeat a genius like Nan Ruofeng, but I don't believe that." So what if he was mediocre? He had the undying sword soul. It could infinitely increase one's comprehension and aptitude. So what if he did not have a special constitution? He did not believe that an ordinary warrior could not transcend mortality, break through the martial king realm, and become a martial sage. Even if he could not, he would forcibly break through and show the world that the peak of the martial way was not only reserved for geniuses. No matter how mediocre a person was, as long as he was willing to work hard, he would also have a chance to reach the peak. Chapter 301. Turmoil in the Inner Sanctum. A Qingfeng sword is worth about 50,000 contribution points. Feng Xinyang seemed to have understood something and replied in a low voice. 50,000. The Merchant Alliance is really generous. It seems like they think that I can't defeat Nan Ruofeng, and will not be able to stay in the sacred lands. Yi Fei. Feng Xinyang suddenly looked at Yi Fei with some worry. "Xinyang, how about this? I'll give you 100,000 contribution points. You can use 50,000 of them to pay for the Qingfeng sword." The other 50,000 I want you to help me buy all kinds of top-quality pills and Earth-grade 1 and 2 pills. Also, I want Xian-grade and Earth-grade cultivation techniques, martial arts, and various Xian-grade weapons. Buy as many as you can. Yi Fei understood that Feng Xinyang was trying to comfort him. However, what he needed was not comfort, but improvement. 1 year was too short. Not only did he want to break through to martial honor, he wanted to break through to martial king. To anyone else, this was an impossible task. However, Yi Fei was different. He had the immortal sword soul and a firm martial heart. Now, the people of the sacred lands can laugh at me, insult me, scold me, despise me, and belittle me. Wait a year, when I break through to martial king, then I'll see what these people think of me. Yi Fei did not have the time to listen to Feng Xinyang's advice. He simply took the Qingfeng sword and returned to the sacred lands alone. Before he left, he only left behind a firm and calm voice. Xinyang, I don't need you by my side anymore. Take the things I asked you to buy and return to Tianyun Wufu. Give them to the family Yi. When the time comes, you can choose to reconcile with the old chief or return to East Siwu province to continue being the chief. No, master, I won't return to East Siwu province. I am no longer the East Sea prefecture lord, I am only your servant. I also believe that in a year, Master will definitely defeat Nan Ruofeng and dominate the Taishan Holy Land. Feng Xinyang said loudly. She knew that Yi Fei was staking everything on this one throw. In the eyes of many people, Yi Fei challenging Nan Ruofeng at this time was extremely foolish. However, Feng Xinyang knew that Yi Fei's martial heart was extremely firm. This person would definitely not be restricted by his own mediocrity and take a step back. Silently looking at Yi Fei's departing figure, the first thing Feng Xinyang did was to find a few managers of the auction and give Yi Fei the contribution points needed to purchase the Qingfeng sword. This made the merchant alliances very surprised. What's wrong with this Yi Fei? He accepted our tokens, but he didn't accept the Qingfeng sword for free. Does he think that we didn't get enough benefits from recruiting him? No, in my opinion, Yi Fei never thought that he would lose. His person is like his sword. Unfortunately, it's hard but easy to break. This Yi Fei has made up his mind to fight Nan Ruofeng to the end. A luxurious woman walked out from behind the beaded curtains and looked at Yi Fei's departing figure. Her eyes flashed with a strange light. The managers present all bowed and respectfully asked, Eldest Miss, from what you said, you seem to think that Yi Fei will really be able to fight Nan Ruofeng in a year's time? But his constitution is not a problem. In the world of martial artists, there has never been a lack of legends. Of course, Nan Ruofeng's talent is not only in Taishan sacred lands, but also in the 18 northern seas. He is one of the top people. For Yi Fei to be on par with him, I can only say that the chances are slim. Eldest Miss looked at Yi Fei's departing figure, deep in thought. Yi Fei, who had left, did not know that the token in his hand was not given to him by the manager of the Merchant Alliance. It was the eldest miss of the Merchant Alliance who had a discerning eye for talent, and had a heart of appreciation for Yi Fei. But even this eldest miss of the Merchant Alliance who had high hopes for him, did not think that Yi Fei had the chance to defeat Nan Ruofeng. It had to be said that this was a great irony. Yi Fei, who had returned to the sacred lands, could clearly feel that the entire sacred lands, regardless of the elders or disciples, were looking at him strangely, with ridicule and disdain in their eyes. But because of Yi Fei's strength as the number 1 on the mountain river list, no one dared to ridicule Yi Fei in front of him. They would only talk about him behind his back, treating it as a topic of conversation, and laugh it off. A group of cowards who only dare to talk about others behind their backs. Facing their ridicule and evasive gazes, Yi Fei sneered back at them. He did not stay in the inner sect, but directly went to Shangguan Lu's residence. Shangguan Lu, I broke your azure edge sword the last time, I am truly sorry. This is a new azure edge sword. I am returning it to you. What, Yi Fei, you actually specially went to buy a new azure edge sword to return it to me? Shangguan Lu took the brand new azure edge sword, and looked at Yi Fei, who was about to leave. He was deeply shocked. In his mind, suddenly, Yi Fei's words of scolding Ma Zai surfaced. I would rather be a beggar than a slave. He had followed the family rules, and followed behind the 10th prince from start to finish, as a retainer. Was he really wrong? Finally, Shangguan Lu thought of something and hurriedly called out to Yi Fei. Yi Fei, you have to be careful. Yesterday, the 10th prince received news that Nan Ruofeng has officially completed the disciple ceremony and has become the candidate for the next sacred lord. At the same time, he also issued his first order after taking office. Chapter 302. Covering the sky with one hand. Seeing these people drinking tea and chatting, Yi Fei felt gloomy. This was his home. Why did it seem like a tea house? He could understand why Zhao Yu and the others came. They were all friends, but why would Shi Feng and Qi Chuchu, who were once his opponents, appear here? Little senior brother, it's not good to have a cold face. It's not easy for us to come here. Quickly smile at big sister. Qi Chuchu wanted to tease Yi Fei when she saw Yi Fei in a daze. Yi Fei's face darkened. This Qi Chuchu, it was fine for her to call him senior brother, but why did she have to add the word little in front? Shi Feng didn't say anything. He only nodded at Yi Fei. Yi Fei, you came back just in time. Something big happened in the inner sect. Zhao Yu felt uncomfortable when she saw Qi Chuchu teasing Yi Fei again. She walked over and took the initiative to talk to Yi Fei. Yi Fei finally understood what was going on. He smiled and shook his head. Zhao Yu, you're talking about Nan Ruofeng wanting inner sect disciples to hand over their martial arts, right? Brother Fei, you know about it? Luo Shi was astonished. This matter hadn't been made public yet. He had only heard about it through his spirit eagle. He quickly told Zhao Yu and Wang Bai. Then, Shi Feng and Qi Chuchu came over one after another. Shangguan Lu told me when I went to pay for the Qingfeng sword. Yi Fei walked into the house and found a stool to sit on. He looked at everyone and asked, have you all discussed this? What do you think of the Holy Land's rule? What else can we think of? Of course we don't agree. The beast spirit art was passed down by my Luo family's ancestors. It's a family martial art. Why should I hand it over to the Holy Land? Luo Shi was filled with righteous indignation. What a coincidence. My innate tyrant fist is also passed down in my family. It has nothing to do with the Holy Land. Even my master didn't ask me to hand it over. Why should Nan Ruofeng ask me to hand it over? Qi Chuchu said seriously. Yi Fei nodded and looked at Shi Feng. Shi Feng said coldly, my stone lock is a combination of other martial arts and self-created. It took me a lot of effort to reach heaven grade medium grade. I plan to wait until I reach heaven grade high grade to comprehend the will of the stone lock. As long as I don't succeed, I will not hand it over to the Holy Land. Boom. Shi Feng's words shocked Yi Fei a little. This Shi Feng had actually created his own martial art, and it had even reached the middle grade of heaven class. The Holy Lands are indeed abnormal. Yi Fei sighed, causing Shi Feng and Qi Chuchu to look at him in disdain. In the sacred grounds, no matter how perverted they were, they could not compare to the person in front of them, to be able to kill the people in the mountain river list. Ha ha ha, Shi Feng, Qi Chuchu, this prince has been looking for you everywhere. So you are here. Everyone in the room was talking. Another burst of sound came out. The 10th prince, Yan Bei, Lin Sun and Yang Xiao came together. Only Shangguan Lu was heavily injured, and was still in closed-door cultivation. Seeing Shi Feng and Qi Chuchu there, the 10th prince walked in and said, Seems like the matter of Nan Rufeng handing over his martial arts to the inner sect. You all know about it? We just found out. Yi Fei stood up and said, "We do not agree to it." What a coincidence, we do not agree as well. The majority of our martial arts were obtained through fortuitous encounters. Even if you beat us to death, we will not hand it over to that hypocrite Nan Ruofeng. Lin Sun and Yang Shao said together. The 10th prince looked at Yi Fei, his expression congealing. Yi Fei, I feel that Nan Ruofeng's actions this time are specifically targeted at you and me. Your battle demon golden body should belong to the demonic Tao's supreme body cultivation technique. My blood river blade technique also originated from the demonic Tao. It is based on killing. If Nan Ruofeng's actions succeed, the two of us will be the first to suffer. Yi Fei's face congealed and nodded his head, then looked at Yan Bei, who did not say anything. Yan Bei shook his head indifferently. Don't look at me. Those below Nan Ruofeng are prohibited from training in the demonic Tao. I do not object to that. But he wants all the disciples to hand over their own martial arts. That is too much. This time, I will stand on your side. Other than this side, where else can you stand? Don't tell me you want to be like Ma Zai, and bark like a dog in front of everyone, and then beg for Nan Ruofeng's charity? Wang Bai suddenly said. With that sentence, he pointed out the reason why all the Mountain River List experts were gathered there. They were all unwilling to submit to Nan Ruofeng, that was why they gathered together. After a moment of silence, Zhao Yu asked, "Then what should we do?" Nan Ruofeng is too strong, just a strand of his hair, and he almost suppressed the entire inner sect. The 10th prince muttered, I plan to return to Tai Wu country. Tai Xian's sacred lands is already the era where Nan Ruofeng can cover the sky with one hand. To fight with him is truly unwise. Yes, why don't we go out and train, that way we can avoid the disaster. Lin Xin and Yang Zhao's eyes lit up. Yi Fei nodded his head. Since they could not fight against Nan Ruofeng, going out to avoid the disaster was the best way. But by doing so, it also showed that they were afraid of Nan Ruofeng, and everyone had a feeling of displeasure in their hearts. Wang Bai suddenly mocked the 10th prince and the rest. Do you think avoiding the disaster is useful? If I am Nan Ruofeng, since I want to carry out such a reform, and control the Mountain River List is not enough, I will definitely start with you thorns. As long as you submit the entire sacred lands, basically no one can go against him. Seeing Wang Bai's 4 eyebrows twitching, the 10th prince and the rest were shocked. Who was this outer sect disciple, a mere martial master, facing the Mountain River List experts? Not only was he not afraid, his words were also asking for a beating. But no one beat Wang Bai. At this time, outside the house, a silent pressure had already descended, causing the 10th prince and the rest to feel their breathing stagnant. Yi Fei's face also revealed a look of shock. This pressure was too familiar, it was the pressure of a martial king, and Wang Bai was actually right. Nan Ruofeng, from the start, had planned to use them as an example to others. The defensive array in the room was instantly destroyed. Nan Ruofeng was spotless, and with his hands behind his back, he walked in elegantly. Behind him stood a man and a woman. The man was Huang Xie. His face was filled with hatred, staring at Yi Fei as if he wanted to bite him. The woman was flirtatious, although she could not be compared to Zhao Yu and Qi Chu. She had a charm that girls did not have. Without guessing, Yi Fei knew that this woman should be Huang Min, who was also Huang Xie's sister. It was because of Huang Min's connivance that Huang Xie dared to act like a tyrant in the inner sect. Nan Ruofeng, what are you doing here? Yi Fei stood up, his face filled with anger. This person had destroyed the defensive array the moment he arrived. It was simply a show of strength. Scram, this place does not welcome you, Yi Fei said. In this place, only he dared to not fear Nan Ruofeng's power. Impudent you are, that Yi Fei who dared to challenge Ruofeng. You are indeed arrogant and despotic. You even dared to injure my brother. Ruofeng, I think that such a maniac should be crippled of his cultivation and chased out of the sacred lands. Huang Min hugged Nan Ruofeng's arm, her body constantly squeezing towards him. Zhao Yu and Qi Chu Chu's faces were red, and they secretly scolded Huang Min for being shameless. Chapter 303. Old Master Jian to hold the fort, so what if I do? So what if I don't? Yi Fei asked coldly. Nan Ruofeng glanced arrogantly at Yi Fei. His eyes were filled with disdain. He didn't even bother to answer Yi Fei's question. After all, in his eyes, Yi Fei didn't have a special constitution. His future achievements would at most reach the level of a martial king. There was no need to take him seriously. Even though Yi Fei had already challenged Nan Ruofeng, in Nan Ruofeng's eyes, an ant's challenge was as laughable as an ant trying to defeat an elephant. In this place, there were only two people worthy of Nan Ruofeng's attention, the 10th Prince and Yan Bei. Yan Bei, you are Elder Kuang Dao's disciple. What you practice is the best cultivation technique of the Holy Land. You shouldn't mix with these people. You should come to my side. There will always be a place for you in my mountain. Nan Ruofeng did not hide his admiration for Yan Bei and his desire to recruit him. He did not care about Yan Bei's cold smile at all. Instead, he was filled with the grace of a gentleman. At the same time, he inadvertently glanced at Qi Chu Chu and Zhao Yu. Qi Chu Chu deliberately turned her face to the side and whispered something to Zhao Yu. A trace of displeasure flashed across Nan Ruofeng's face. In the end, his gaze swept past the two of them and landed on the 10th Prince. 10th Prince, if I remember correctly, your Tai Wu Kingdom's Blood River saber technique is also a saber technique of the demonic Tao. And Luo Shi, your Luo family's beast spirit technique, although not of the demonic Tao, is also leaning towards the demonic Tao. Nan Ruofeng was very certain. The faces of Luo Shi and the 10th Prince both changed. As a prince, the 10th Prince's temper was not very good. When he heard this, he said angrily, "So what if I am? Could it be that you, Nan Ruofeng, can cripple my martial techniques?" "That's what I was thinking. Ruofeng has made a rule that from now on, no one in the Taishan Holy Land is allowed to practice demonic cultivation methods. Yi Fei, 10th Prince, Luo Shi, since your cultivation techniques have been tainted by the demon Tao, they must be destroyed." Huang Min stepped forward and leaned on Nan Ruofeng with some pride. If it was in the past, Nan Ruofeng would definitely dote on her and hug her. However, at this moment, facing the fairy-like Zhao Yu and Qi Chu Chu, the Huang Min in front of him was a little too tactless. However, Nan Ruofeng didn't get angry. He just pushed Huang Min away again without a trace. Then he looked at Yi Fei, the 10th Prince, and Luo Shi, and said with great heartache, "Junior brothers, since you've joined the Holy Land, you shouldn't cultivate that kind of demonic cultivation method. If you give me all your cultivation techniques and swear that you will never cultivate demonic cultivation techniques again, I won't make things difficult for you." In fact, I will personally teach you the best cultivation techniques in the Holy Land to make up for your losses. What do you think? I don't think so. The Blood River Saber technique is the ultimate martial art of the state of Tai Wu. It can't be taught to outsiders. Why should I give it to you? The 10th Prince said indignantly. The Beast Spirit technique is also a secret technique of the Luo family. Senior brother Nan, I can't agree to your request. Luo Shi also gathered his courage and refused. Very well. Yi Fei, what about you? Are you willing to give me your cultivation techniques and martial arts? Nan Ruofeng still didn't get angry. He smiled and said, "Scram." How could Yi Fei not see through Nan Ruofeng's plan? This person wanted to take away the demonic cultivation techniques and study them himself. There was nothing to say about Nan Ruofeng's despicable behavior. Just scram was enough. Very well. Yi Fei Luo Shi, 10th Prince, it seems like you have a big prejudice against me. However, reorganizing the Holy Land is the first order I gave after becoming a direct disciple. No one is allowed to go against it. Going against my order is equivalent to rebelling against the Holy Land. Nan Ruofeng still didn't get angry. He was still smiling. However, there was a hint of disdain and ridicule in his warm laughter. Since you're going against my order, then I, as your senior brother, would like to see what qualifications you have to go against my order. Boom! Without any warning, Nan Ruofeng released his Martial King aura. He didn't even bother to attack Yi Fei and the others. Just his Martial King aura alone was enough to crush everyone present. The 10th Prince and the others were furious. As long as they had the heart to become stronger, they wouldn't be able to endure such humiliation. However, before they could attack, an awe-inspiring sword light had already appeared in front of the 10th Prince and the others. Yi Fei's lips curled into a smile. It was Jing Wushou. It was because Jing Wushou was still in the Holy Land that Yi Fei felt relieved to stay in the Holy Land. He knew that with Jing Wushou's heroic character, he would definitely not allow them to be humiliated. Nan Ruofeng, you've gone too far. Jing Wushou's expression was solemn. He stood at the front, using his broad back to protect Yi Fei and the others. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't moved. However, Yi Fei felt more powerless. If he could become stronger, if he could also become a Martial King expert. Jing Wushou, you've come at the right time. After becoming a direct disciple, I've decided to issue 3 orders. First, no disciple of the Holy Land is allowed to practice demonic techniques. Second, all disciples must voluntarily hand over their martial arts techniques for the Holy Land to evaluate whether the techniques they practice will have a negative impact on the Holy Land. Third, I've decided to have a truce with the demonic sects. Both sides will not interfere with each other and maintain peace as much as possible. This is beneficial to the prosperity of the Holy Land. Nan Ruofeng pointed at Jing Wushou and scolded coldly, Jing Wushou, you've been chasing after the demonic sects for years. This has greatly caused the hatred between the Holy Land and the demonic sections. It has also increased the risk of the Holy Land's disciples going out to train. Now, as a direct disciple, I order you not to chase after the demonic sects from now on. Jing Wushou sneered, Nan Ruofeng, you're you and I'm me. Don't think that you can control the sword peak just because you've become a direct disciple. If I don't chase after these demons, are you going to let them kill people, destroy innocent cities, and kill thousands of ordinary people? Is this what you, as a direct disciple, want to see? Nan Ruofeng did not argue with Jing Wushou. He only shook his head and ordered, I'm a direct disciple, your senior brother, the future Holy Lord. If I don't care about you, who will? I won't allow any black sheep to affect my revival of the Holy Land. I'll ask you one last time, are you going to obey my orders? Get lost, you abandoned disciple of the Sword Peak. It's not up to you to criticize the Sword Peak. Your orders can control others, but not the people of the Sword Peak. Jing Wushou was very straightforward. Even when facing a martial king, he was still unyielding. This was what Yi Fei liked the most about Jing Wushou. At the same time, he was secretly shocked. Nan Ruofeng was an abandoned disciple of the Sword Peak? What was going on? But before Yi Fei could think, Nan Ruofeng was already enraged by Jing Wushou's words. In other words, the purpose of Nan Ruofeng's visit this time was to remove all the thorns present and then change the Holy Land according to his will. Jing Wushou, very good. Since you've disobeyed my orders, then even if I use my status as a direct disciple to suppress you, I believe that the other elders won't say anything. Nan Ruofeng sneered. The aura of a martial king was overwhelming. This was not Nan Ruofeng's clone, but the real Nan Ruofeng. Just as Nan Ruofeng was about to make his move, A force even stronger than Nan Ruofeng's suddenly suppressed him. Then, an aged figure appeared before Nan Ruofeng without any sound or presence. Chapter 304. The might of the sword cannot be violated. The appearance of the sword maniac elder was definitely a surprise. The reason why Nan Ruofeng dared to reform the sacred land after becoming a direct disciple was because, apart from the support of many elders, all the martial king elders were either cultivating or not in the sacred land. Normally, they would not have the time to manage the sacred land's affairs. Nan Ruofeng took advantage of this loophole and relied on his martial king's strength to forcefully change the sacred land according to his will. Now that the sword maniac elder had appeared, Nan Ruofeng's expression became serious for the first time. He forced a smile and said, "So it's martial uncle sword maniac. However, martial uncle, you've been obsessed with the sword your whole life. Are you really going to affect your sword heart because of the sacred land's worldly affairs?" Nan Ruofeng's words seemed to imply something. The sword maniac elder didn't seem to be a true maniac, but had a special reason. The sword maniac elder took a deep look at Nan Ruofeng and suddenly sighed. "Nan Ruofeng, you're still the same as before. You haven't changed. You'll never understand the true sword heart. I don't care about the sacred land's worldly affairs. Since you're a direct disciple and the sacred lord is in seclusion, the sacred land should be managed by you. However, you shouldn't interfere with the matters of the sword peak." "Why? Does the sword peak not belong to the sacred land? Since you've acknowledged my identity as a direct disciple, then I have the right to manage any peak and any disciple of the sacred land." Nan Ruofeng didn't back down. He even revealed a hint of provocation towards the sword maniac elder. The sword maniac elder didn't say anything. He only stretched out his finger and pointed towards the sky. Boom! The dazzling sword light was like a pillar of lightning. It was as thick as a bucket and pierced towards the sky. Instantly, the clouds shattered and the world collapsed. Yi Fei's expression changed. Jing Wushou's expression also changed. Nan Ruofeng's face was also filled with shock. The entire sacred land was in an uproar. No one had ever seen such a terrifying sword light. Not only did it pierce through the sacred land's small world, it even shattered the world outside. Countless elders rushed over from all directions. Countless disciples also rushed over from all directions. Then, they saw an old man slowly withdrawing his sword finger that was pointing towards the sky. "Nan Ruofeng, you see, this is my sword." Sword maniac elder didn't look at the others who had rushed over. He only looked at Nan Ruofeng indifferently. However, it was this indifferent gaze that caused cold sweat to appear on Nan Ruofeng's forehead. A hint of shock also flashed past his face. He seemed to recall the time when he was young and full of vigor. He wanted to compete with Jing Wushou and went to Sword Peak to become a disciple. Of course, the result was incomparably unexpected. The sword maniac elder had left behind the weak Jing Wushou, but had only used a single sentence to dismiss the dazzling genius of the entire Holy Land, Nan Ruofeng. When he saw sword maniac elder, Nan Ruofeng seemed to recall the scene from back then. He was no longer the same person he had been back then. He was now a martial king realm expert. Nan Ruofeng laughed and said, "Elder sword maniac, are you going to give me pointers on my cultivation? Very well, I, Nan Ruofeng, would like to experience your sword. Heaven covering hand. Rumble." Nan Ruofeng furiously attacked. The might of a martial king realm expert shocked many elders who had rushed over. Their faces turned pale and they quickly retreated. Sword maniac elder didn't say anything. He faced the sky and let out a long howl. It was actually the sound of a sword. It was like a powerful army, like a great wave washing away the sand. Rumble! The sword's sound formed a sword light that pierced towards the sky. Nan Ruofeng's heaven-covering hand instantly caught the sword light and used force to crush it. This scene shocked countless people. Sword Maniac Elder nodded inwardly and his voice became more serious. Nan Ruofeng, you are indeed the strongest genius of the Holy Land. I heard that Yi Fei challenged you to a battle in a year's time. Is that true? Indeed. Nan Ruofeng slowly withdrew his hand and looked down at Yi Fei. I don't care about the provocation of an ant. Elder Sword Maniac, as long as he apologizes to me, I won't make things difficult for him. No, Nan Ruofeng, you're wrong. I won't make Yi Fei apologize and I won't stop this challenge. I only hope that you give them a year's time. If Yi Fei is defeated in a year's time, you can carry out your reforms in the Holy Land. I won't stop you. What do you think? Although Sword Maniac Elder was suggesting, his tone didn't allow for refusal. Nan Ruofeng was furious, but he seemed to be worried about something. He coldly glanced at Sword Maniac Elder and then smiled. Not enough. If this ant loses to me in a year's time, not only him, but your sword peak will also have to listen to my orders. All right. Sword Maniac Elder nodded. Then, Elder, it's a deal. Nan Ruofeng harumphed as he placed his hands behind his back and hugged Huang Min, before flying back to his peak. Many people were confused by this. Nan Ruofeng had clearly shattered Sword Maniac Elder's sword glow with his overwhelming strength. Why would the powerful Nan Ruofeng suddenly retreat? Only Huang Min, who was standing beside Nan Ruofeng, noticed that Nan Ruofeng's right hand, which had shattered the sword glow, was now covered in blood, revealing a deep wound. 10th layer Martial Emperor Realm. This old man has hidden his strength well. Fine, I'll let you live for another year. After all, a bunch of ants won't stand a chance against me in a year's time. Nan Ruofeng returned to the core disciple peak furiously. The elders and disciples who had arrived were shocked too. Everyone assumed that the sacred area would undergo a great change after Nan Ruofeng had ranked up to the Martial Emperor realm and become a core disciple. The Sword Maniac Elder had actually used a single-finger sword and a single sword sound to forcibly prolong the change of the heavens by a year. It's only a year's time. What can Sword Maniac Elder change? Humph, not to mention a year, even if it's 10 years or 100 years, as long as Yi Fei doesn't have a special physique, he won't stand a chance against Nan Ruofeng. That's right, above the Martial Emperor realm, a special physique is the way to go. Without a special physique, no matter how strong one's talent and comprehension are, they are nothing but trash, not worth mentioning. A piece of trash like him dares to challenge the strongest person in the sacred area, Senior Brother Nan. Let's wait and see how he's going to die in a year's time, ha 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 ha. The elders and disciples dispersed after arriving, leaving the place filled with mocking laughter. The 10th prince and the others glanced at Yi Fei with a worried expression. They were afraid that such a decision would cause a great impact to Yi Fei. However, Yi Fei only smiled. Despite being mocked by the crowd, Yi Fei was still smiling happily. At least, when everyone thought that he had no chance of defeating Nan Ruofeng, there was still one person who believed in him and was willing to support him with all her might. Elder Sword Maniac, many thanks. Yi Fei solemnly bowed, both to express his respect and to express his gratitude. Don't worry about it. Although you're unwilling to join the Sword Peak, you'll always be a disciple of the Sword Peak in my heart. Wu Shou, bring Yi Fei and follow me back to the Sword Peak. Chapter 305. The Old Master Jian's Strength Transmission. After saying those words, the Sword Maniac Elder's body suddenly shattered and turned into rays of sword light that scattered in all directions. Unfortunately, the elders and disciples who had left did not see anything except for the mocking laughter. Only the 10th prince and the others saw Jing Wushou and Yi Fei fly to the Sword Peak. They also saw the Sword Maniac Elder's sword light clone turn invisible. That was the Sword Maniac Elder's clone? The strength of the Sword Peak is that terrifying? Indeed, the Sword Peak is filled with monsters. Jing Wushou is abnormal, but the sword maniac elder's strength is even more abnormal. The 10th prince and the others who came to their senses were all very shocked. Only now did they understand why someone as strong as Nan Ruofeng, after shattering the sword maniac elder's swordlight, suddenly lowered his head and was even forced to agree to the 1-year agreement with Yi Fei. It turned out that the one who had fought with Nan Ruofeng was not the sword maniac elder himself, but only a ray of sword light. What should we do? After recovering from their shock, the 10th prince and the others looked at each other. Although Nan Ruofeng had been forced to retreat, the situation of Nan Ruofeng in the Sacred Land did not change. As long as there was no one in the Sacred Land who could contend with Nan Ruofeng, their situation in the Sacred Land would become extremely difficult. Yanbei hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I plan to return to my master's side. My master is also a red-robed elder and a martial king expert. Nan Ruofeng should not be able to bully me." Chi Chuchu's expression was grave. After thinking for a while, she said, "I'll stay in the Sword Peak. Even if I don't practice the sword, as long as the sword maniac elder is willing to give me a few pointers, I'll benefit greatly." "What? Senior sister Chu Chu wants to join the Sword Peak? Then Lin Sen and I will definitely follow your footstep." Yang Zhao's eyes lit up when she heard that. Lin Sen's face darkened. He immediately dragged Yang Zhao to the side and started kicking her. Hearing that Chi Chu Chu actually wanted to join Sword Peak, Zhao Yu felt an inexplicable sense of crisis in his heart. Just as he was hesitating whether he should join Sword Peak, Zhao Yu's voice transmission talisman suddenly lit up. Zhao Yu immediately took the voice transmission talisman and walked to the side to check the content. The 10th prince glanced at Shi Feng. Then, he stretched out his hand and said, "Shi Feng, this prince intends to go to a dangerous place for experiential training. It is very likely that I will die there. I need a true expert to accompany me." 10th prince, the way you invite people is always so awkward. However, if it's a place that even you are afraid of, I would like to see it. Shi Feng hesitated for a moment before stretching out his hand. "But I am not your subordinate," Shi Feng said firmly. "I don't want subordinates in that place. What I want are brothers who will go through thick and thin with me." The 10th prince grabbed Shi Feng's arm tightly. When he heard the 10th prince mention brothers, Luo Shi subconsciously looked in the direction Yi Fei had left. He finally made up his mind and looked at Wang Bai. "Wang Bai, I've decided to follow Brother Fei for the rest of my life. What about you?" "Brother? This is difficult. Both of you are my subordinates. I can't let my subordinates protect me. Forget it, I will continue to stay in the outer sect. Anyway, with my handsomeness, Nan Ruofeng will feel inferior when he sees me. Would he dare to appear in front of me and ask for trouble?" Boom! Before Wang Bai could finish speaking, Luo Shi, the 10th prince, and the others, including Zhao Yu, who was checking the voice transmission talisman, all looked at Wang Bai with murderous eyes. Zhao Yu said, "Wang Bai, if you dare say that you are handsome again, don't blame me for not warning you." Chi Chu Chu also said angrily, "For eyebrows, do you know how annoying you are? But I am handsome to begin with. Especially these 4 slender eyebrows. They are definitely enough to charm thousands of girls. I understand now. You must be jealous of my handsomeness." Wang Bai ignored the murderous aura that filled the place and felt very wronged. The 10th prince and the others were speechless. One by one, they left and hurried to the Sword Peak. Zhao Yu did not rush to the Sword Peak. Instead, he hesitated for a moment. In the end, he could not ignore the content of the voice transmission talisman. He walked toward the entrance of the small world of the Holy Land and left the Holy Land with the 10th prince and Shi Feng. The Sword Peak. It was 10,000 feet tall. It was as straight as a sword. Jing Wushou brought Yi Fei to the Sword Peak and left alone. "Yi Fei, master is up there. You can go up by yourself. Senior brother Jing, thank you for all this time." Yi Fei bowed deeply to Jing Wushou. Jing Wushou smiled and walked into the distance with the wine jar in his arms. It was enough for him to call him senior brother. Yi Fei straightened up and walked to the top of the sword peak. Along the way, he saw swords. Broken swords, strange swords, blood swords, stone swords, wooden swords, rusted swords, bone swords. Yi Fei had never seen so many swords before. But from each and every one of these swords, he could feel that they contained a shocking will. That was the will of the sword. These are all swords used by the seniors of the Sword Peak. Sword Maniac Elder's deep voice came from the top of the mountain. He seemed to be reminiscing about the many seniors who had passed away on the Sword Peak. The Taishan Holy Land has been founded for 1,876 years. Hundreds of thousands of disciples have been born, but in the past 1,000 years, including me, Jing Wushou, and you, there have been less than 100 disciples on the Sword Peak. Do you know why? Sword Maniac Elder asked leisurely. Why? Please enlighten me, Elder. Yi Fei was really puzzled. The 1,000-year-old Holy Land had hundreds of thousands of disciples, and there were many sword geniuses. Why was it that the powerful Sword Peak had so few geniuses? After 1,000 years, the number of geniuses had not even reached 100? Sword Maniac Elder did not answer. Instead, he suddenly asked, Yi Fei, tell me what a sword is. What is a sword? Yi Fei was stunned. He had a sword in his hand, a sword in his heart, a sword in his hand, a sword in his hand, a sword in his hand, and a sword in his body that could destroy the world. But he seemed to have never thought about what a sword was. Where does a sword come from? How should a sword be used? Sword Maniac Elder asked again. Yi Fei still could not answer his questions, and he looked ashamed. Elder, may I ask what a sword is? Yi Fei knelt down. He did not feel humiliated. The person in front of him was not an enemy, but an elder, a swordsman. He was so lonely, but he was so great. I don't understand swords. But Sword Maniac Elder's words shocked Yi Fei. Yi Fei could not believe it. The old man in front of him had dedicated his life to the sword. He was obsessed with the sword, and such a grandmaster swordsman actually said that he did not understand swords. What a joke! I really don't understand swords, but after cultivating for more than 100 years, I only understand people who use swords. Swords are better broken than bent. Swords are better than rotting. Swords are better than ever. 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 This is the sword that I see, and this is also the person that I see. Yi Fei, do you understand swords? Do you understand swords? Sword Maniac Elder's voice was low and soft, but in Yi Fei's ears, it was like a great bell, like a morning bell, fiercely shaking Yi Fei's heart. Yes, do I understand swords? Chapter 306. Sword Maniac Elder's question made Yi Fei fall into deep silence. He could not answer and he could not understand. Yi Fei stood alone on the cliff of the Sword Peak and stared at the swords all over the ground. He stared at the Sword Peak. What is a sword? What is a person who uses a sword? Yi Fei's low, confused, and half-comprehensible voice resounded on the Sword Peak. Yi Fei felt that he understood every word Sword Maniac Elder said, but he did not seem to understand any of them at all. Undying Sword Soul, do I understand you? Yi Fei looked inwardly at his Dantian region, and at the black sword image that was floating up and down, capable of destroying the starry sky. Then, he asked, what is it? The undying sword soul did not answer. It could feel Yi Fei's confusion, and it only emitted wisps of black light. It seemed to be comforting him, but it also seemed to be conveying something. However, Yi Fei could not understand it. He could not understand it. Yi Fei had never felt so lost, so weak, and so stupid. Yes. He had the undying sword soul, and he could continuously stimulate the power of the undying sword soul to increase his power of understanding, talent, and even heal his injuries instantly. However, Yi Fei had never understood the undying sword soul. He also did not understand that the sword he used, what he learned, what he knew, and what he used were all based on a set of rules. However, Yi Fei also did not understand what these rules were. Idiot, idiot. I am an idiot, but you are even more of an idiot. Child, the sword peak will follow you. I will wait for your return. The sword maniac elder glanced at Yi Fei's figure. The brilliant sword glow on Yi Fei's body had turned dim, while his cultivation dropped rapidly from the 10th layer martial ancestor realm. 9th realm of the martial grandmaster realm, 8th realm, 7th realm. Jing Wushou looked at this scene in shock. He could not believe that sword maniac elder had not done anything. He only said a few words and it had such a huge impact on Yi Fei. Right now, Yi Fei seemed to have gone mad. He stood there like a statue, not moving at all. His cultivation base was falling, and his realm was falling. If this situation was allowed to continue, it was very likely that Yi Fei would run out of oil and self-destruct without anyone doing anything. Master, did you ask Junior Martial Brother Yi for the sword? Jing Wushou was extremely shocked. Questioning the sword was a unique tradition of the sword peak. Normally, only the previous peak lord would use such a special method to question the sword of the opponent. Jing Wushou had stayed at sword peak for 10 years. His cultivation had gone from being weak to a martial honorable realm expert. However, sword maniac elder had never questioned Jing Wushou. Once, Jing Wushou had curiously asked a sword maniac elder why he didn't ask him about it. In Jing Wushou's opinion, there were only the two of them in the sword peak. When sword maniac elder passed away or left, Jing Wushou should inherit the sword peak. At that time, the sword maniac elder had only said one thing. That was, it was not yet time for Jing Wushou's Q-sword. Only when Jing Wushou had broken through to Martial King would he be qualified to accept the Q-sword. Only then would Jing Wushou's cultivation not be affected if the Q-sword failed. But now, sword maniac elder was going to question Yi Fei, who was still in the 10th realm of the martial grandmaster realm. Jing Wushou was very anxious. Master, you can't do this. Ask junior brother Yi to stop. Jing Wushou was very anxious. He did not care who would inherit the sword peak. He was just worried that with Yi Fei's low cultivation level, there would only be one outcome if he failed the sword test. He would die. Seeing that sword maniac elder didn't speak, and Yi Fei's realm and sword intent were rapidly falling, Jing Wushou couldn't care about anything else. He subconsciously wanted to force his way over and interrupt Yi Fei's qi deviation process. Wait. Let him go. If he wants to challenge Nanruofeng, he must pass the sword test. If he can't even pass the sword test, he will not be qualified to challenge Nanruofeng. Sword maniac elder waved his hand and strode down the sword peak. He did not care about Yi Fei's life or death. It was not that sword maniac elder was heartless. He was deeply aware of the difference between Yi Fei and Nanruofeng. A year later, Yi Fei would be defeated by Nanruofeng and die in humiliation. Sword maniac elder would rather let Yi Fei die when he tried to break through the sword Dao's devil barrier. So that's how it is. Master, you're trying to train junior brother Yi. However, your method is too abnormal. You're actually letting junior brother Yi experience the sword quest ritual when he's only a martial emperor? Jing Wushou took a deep look at Yi Fei and smiled bitterly. He watched sword maniac elder leave and hesitated for a moment. Then, he found a remote place and sat down. He cultivated while paying attention to Yi Fei's devil barrier. If Yi Fei really could not bear it, Jing Wushou swore that he would save Yi Fei even if he had to sacrifice his life. The reason was simple. He was the senior brother and Yi Fei was also a member of the Sword Peak. Just based on this point, it was worth Jing Wushou's full effort. Two idiots. Sword Maniac Elder looked at the two figures on the peak. He smiled and shook his head. Then, his gaze fell on the few figures who had already entered the Sword Peak. They were Qi Chuchu, Lin Xin, Yang Shao, and Luo Shi. Wang Bai returned to the outer sect and Zhao Yu left the sacred ground. The rest of the people went their separate ways. The entire Taixuan sacred ground, except for the Sword Peak, was completely under Nan Ruofeng's control. The Sword Peak had become the last pure land of the sacred ground. The sun rose and the moon set. Unknowingly, 10 days had passed. Yi Fei was still standing on the peak of the Sword Peak like a statue. His cultivation level had fallen again and again. He had fallen from the martial ancestor realm to the martial master realm. This was an extremely horrifying scene. Jing Wushou had never seen a martial artist's cultivation fall in such a terrifying manner. But as Yi Fei's cultivation fell, Yi Fei's dim sword intent, after experiencing a rapid decline, began to blossom with a dazzling light once more. At night, Qi Chuchu and the others gathered on the Sword Peak could see two bright lights on the peak. They were as dazzling as stars. One of them belonged to Jing Wushou, and the other belonged to Yi Fei. What's going on? Junior brother Ye's cultivation level is clearly falling rapidly. Why do I feel that his sword will is suppressing mine? Jing Wushou was finally awakened by the sudden change in Yi Fei's sword will. He stopped cultivating in shock and looked at Sword Maniac Elder, who had appeared beside him without him noticing. Sword Maniac Elder's expression became very serious. He seemed to have thought of something. Suddenly, Sword Maniac Elder said to Jing Wushou, "Wushou, use all your strength and attack Yi Fei." "What? I'll attack junior brother Yi with all my strength?" Jing Wushou was completely stunned. However, he could not disobey his master's orders. Sword Maniac Elder must have a deep reason for doing this. Jing Wushou hesitated for a moment. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yi Fei, saying, "Junior brother Yi, be careful." Boom! Boom! A silver thread-like sword light appeared on the peak of the Sword Peak. Then, this sword light suddenly became as large as a mountain peak. It shattered the space and crashed down. Usually, Jing Wushou would not hesitate for a moment when he attacked. However, at this time, Jing Wushou's hands were trembling. Chapter 307. Heart of Sword Illumination. But Jing Wushou had no other choice. The Sword Maniac Elder was present. If he didn't make a move, the Sword Maniac Elder would definitely make a move. He could only watch helplessly as the huge sword shadow slammed into the defenseless Yi Fei. Boom! The sword light, which was powerful enough to destroy space, swept across Yi Fei's body. However, just as the sword light was about to touch his body, Yi Fei, who was deep in thought, suddenly felt something. There's sword intent and sword chi. Someone is swinging a sword at me. Why does this sword intent feel so familiar? Right, is this senior brother Jing's sword intent? In the face of danger, even though Yi Fei was in Q-Sword's bedeviled state, he quickly reacted. He quickly turned around, raised his head, and opened his eyes. 10 days of deep thought caused Yi Fei's eyes to shine with a resplendent sword light. Unknowingly, he had already cultivated a sword eye similar to the saber eye like Yen Bei. As far as the eye could see, there was sword light. This sword light doesn't have any killing intent. Senior brother Jing doesn't want to kill me. I can even feel the nervousness and worry contained in the sword intent. Is that Jing Wushou's inner emotions? Why am I able to sense the sword intent and the unique emotions of the swordsman? Why? Yi Fei roared. He didn't understand, but he could clearly feel it. He subconsciously communicated with the immortal sword soul. After all, Jing Wushou was a martial honorable. Even if he didn't want to kill, he wasn't someone a martial ancestor could withstand. After that, Yi Fei could clearly feel the joy and battle intent of the undying sword spirit the moment he communicated with it. This was a feeling that he had never felt before. Even though Yi Fei could feel the invincible sword soul's disdain, and other strange emotions when he used it in the past, those feelings were very vague. Most of them were just guesses in Yi Fei's mind. But this time, that feeling, that consciousness was so clear that it shocked Yi Fei. Suddenly, a bold idea popped up in his mind. Could it be that swords have souls as well? A sword has a sword intent and a sword soul, but why doesn't it have a sword heart? That's right, it's a sword heart. A sword actually has a sword heart? Boom! 10 years of bitter cultivation is not as good as a bit of guidance from a wise master. Sword Maniac Elder's voice was transmitted into Yi Fei's mind the moment the sword appeared. What is a sword? Yi Fei replied loudly, My will is the sword, my mood is the sword. My will is the sword intent, my heart is the sword heart. I understand now. This is the sword. The sword light on Xiao Chen's body became even more resplendent. Xiao Chen's confusion and distress over the past few days were suddenly enlightened by this special sword-seeking ceremony. Yi Fei understood. He also understood that the sword was just a medium. The martial artist's will and emotions were the essence. This was the sword which was also me. The other side of the demonic path was the great Tao. After resolving the confusion in his heart, Yi Fei's sword instantly became sharp. Yi Fei's cultivation base also rose rapidly in an instant. Just as the sword was about to reach his body, Yi Fei drew his sword. Senior Brother Jing, take this. Heaven-burying sword. Boom. Yi Fei used his hand as a sword and mimicked Sword Maniac Elder's sword finger. Although he didn't have a sword in his hand, the power of the heaven-burying sword was greatly reduced. However, Yi Fei felt that this sword move was even smoother than the heaven-burying sword when he used the Devourer sword. The feeling of being rejected by the heavens and earth had completely disappeared. At this moment, Yi Fei didn't seem like someone who was rejected by the heavens and earth. Instead, he was the one who rejected the heavens and earth. This was the true heaven-burying sword. Heaven-burying sword, heaven-burying sword. If he couldn't even withstand the rejection of the heavens and earth, then what was the point of heaven-burying sword? The dazzling sword light caused Jing Wushou's huge sword shadow to completely stop when it was a millimeter away from Yi Fei. Devourer sword intent. Then Yi Fei moved. Another sword finger was mercilessly pointed at Jing Wushou's huge sword shadow. At the tip of Yi Fei's sword finger, a pitch-black dot appeared and expanded rapidly. In an instant, it became a huge black hole that was as big as a bucket. It was like a giant starry beast that opened its huge mouth and swallowed Jing Wushou's sword light in one gulp. It disappeared without a trace. My sword light was swallowed? When Jing Wushou saw this scene, his eyes almost fell to the ground. One had to know that his sword light was at the martial honorable realm. He could kill any martial ancestor realm expert that came at him. Although Jing Wushou's sword light didn't contain any killing intent, it couldn't be destroyed so easily. Then, Jing Wushou suddenly noticed that Yi Fei was slowly withdrawing the Devourer sword essence. Jing Wushou was depressed and cursed, this is crazy. It's actually a 50% sword essence. This sword peak is indeed full of crazy people. Jing Wushou didn't realize that his words were actually scolding himself and the Sword Maniac Elder. However, this was the only way to express Jing Wushou's depression. One had to know that it took Jing Wushou 3 years to achieve 50% sword essence. How long did Yi Fei take? It was already very exaggerated that he could pass the most difficult sword-seeking ceremony in just a few days. The most ridiculous thing was that even his sword essence had risen from 30% to 50% sword essence like a rocket. How could Jing Wushou not be depressed? Yi Fei was also shocked. 50% sword essence? Right, what happened just now? Why did my sword essence rise from 30% to 50% when I was distracted? Poof! These words had caused a ton of damage to Jing Wushou. It wasn't detestable to show off. What was detestable was that Yi Fei was obviously showing off but was ignorant. This was the most detestable thing. Damn it. If anyone dares to say that junior brother Yi is mediocre in the future, I, Jing Wushou, will definitely beat them up until their parents can't recognize them. Jing Wushou shouted gloomily. Then, he walked over happily and put his arm around Yi Fei's shoulder. Haha, junior brother Yi, congratulations. Not only did you pass the sword-seeking ceremony in a few days, but you also broke through 50% sword essence. Master has done his best to cultivate you. Even I, as your senior brother, am a little jealous. Of course, it was only a little. Jing Wushou was open-minded by nature. Generally speaking, he was happy to see Yi Fei's rapid progress. The sword maniac elder also looked at Yi Fei with a smile and asked again, Now, do you understand the sword? Elder, I don't understand the sword. Yi Fei answered sincerely. This time, he didn't hesitate. There was only determination. The more he understood the sword principle, the more he felt that he was insignificant. The sword maniac elder finally smiled. He turned around and casually pulled out a stone sword made of an unknown stone from the sword peak. He pointed it at Yi Fei and said, Now, attack me. Boom. Following the sword maniac elder's words, his cultivation dropped rapidly from the 10th layer martial emperor realm to the 10th layer martial ancestor realm. He hesitated for a moment. Chapter 308. Demonic Cultivation. Old Master Jian, I'm sorry for the offense. Yi Fei did not hesitate. He did not know why Sword Maniac Elder wanted him to use his sword, but Yi Fei could feel that Sword Maniac Elder wanted him to become stronger. Since that was the case, he would not disappoint Sword Maniac Elder. Yi Fei bowed deeply to the Sword Maniac Elder. Although it wasn't a formal greeting, in Yi Fei's heart, even if he couldn't become the Sword Maniac Elder's disciple, the Sword Maniac Elder was worthy of Yi Fei's respect. Sword! Yi Fei roared. He did not have a sword in his hand, but he had a sword in his heart. This was Sword Heart. Controlling Sword Heart and condensing Sword Fingers was Sword Heart Illumination. This was what Yi Fei had comprehended through the Q-Sword. Now, he was going to display what the Sword Maniac Elder had taught him in its entirety. Who will win this battle? Qi Chuchu, Lin Sen, Yang Xiao and Luo Shi had all heard the news and came over. This time, Jing Wushou did not stop them. Instead, he stood aside and watched the battle. Of course it will be Master. In terms of strength, Master is still number one. He has been sitting under the sword steel for 70 years. If it were me, I would not be able to take it, Jing Wushou said. That may not be the case. Brother Fei even killed Nan Ruofeng's clone, but Sword Maniac Elder only suppressed his cultivation to half-step martial honorable. It's a little difficult. Luo Shi was not convinced. Luo Shi, you may not know this, but Master is a simple and honest person. You will understand in a moment. Jing Wushou suddenly smiled evilly. Boom. At that moment, Yi Fei had already attacked Sword Maniac Elder. His heart was filled with a strong desire to win. He had even killed Nan Ruofeng's clone. How could he be afraid of Sword Maniac Elder, who suppressed his cultivation to half-step martial honorable? Yi Fei pointed his finger and a terrifying black light with devouring sword intent suddenly formed a straight line. It formed a black sword shadow and pierced Sword Maniac Elder's body. Dang! Sword Fanatic Elder also brandished his sword. His movements were extremely slow as the stone sword slowly approached Yi Fei's sword beam. Yi Fei's sword beam was instantly shattered. Following that, Yi Fei's entire body was sent flying by the stone sword. He was sent flying in a sorry state. How could this be? Luo Jing's eyes widened. Qi Chuchu, Lin Sen, and Yang Shao also opened their mouths in shock. Were they seeing things? Sword Maniac Elder hadn't even used his quintessential essence. Just an ordinary sword strike had sent Yi Fei flying. Yi Fei was also feeling very depressed. This time, he had really failed miserably at such an easy task. However, he refused to admit defeat. He was careless this time, but he definitely wouldn't do it again. Kill. Heaven-burying sword. Yi Fei quickly jumped up and pointed his finger like a sword. A terrifying sword intent suppressed the entire area and imprisoned Sword Maniac Elder's body. Then, he charged forward again. As expected, the first Holy Master was unable to comprehend the Heaven's burial style in his entire life. It's a pity that, Pa. Another resounding slap sounded. Sword Maniac Elder's movements were very slow. However, there seemed to be a strange energy in the surroundings that allowed him to dissolve the energy of the heavens and the earth. The Heaven's burial style wasn't able to imprison Sword Maniac Elder. Instead, Yi Fei suffered another sword strike and was sent sprawling on the ground again. Yi Fei, with your strength, if you were to fight with Nan Ruofeng, you wouldn't even be able to take a single strike from him after a year, Sword Maniac Elder said coldly. Suddenly, he walked forward. The stone sword in his hand, which had been moving slowly, suddenly became as fast as a storm. No matter how much strength Yi Fei used, there was only one result. Defeat. 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 This was the first time Yi Fei felt so powerless. He could still fight back against the half-step martial Saint Nan Ruofeng's clone. However, against Sword Maniac Elder, who was also a half-step martial saint, all Yi Fei could do was stand up. Then, he would be sent sprawling on the ground again. His war demon golden body was shattered over and over again. Even the instant recovery of the undying sword spirit was unable to repair the damage to his body. At this moment, Yi Fei finally understood how terrifying a martial king expert was. He was very lucky to be able to defeat Nan Ruofeng's clone. If Sword Maniac Elder hadn't appeared, he wouldn't even have had to wait a year to fight with Nan Ruofeng. Nan Ruofeng might have killed him. Bang! Another stone sword strike struck Yi Fei's body. He vomited blood and sprawled on the ground. He felt as if all the bones in his body were about to break. However, Sword Maniac Elder didn't show any mercy. He held the stone sword and looked coldly at Yi Fei. Get up! Attack! Boom! Yi Fei gritted his teeth and stood up. His fingers were like swords. But, however, the stone sword was one step ahead. It tore through the air and sent Yi Fei flying again. Sword Maniac Elder said coldly, Get up and attack! Pa! Get up and attack! Pa! Get up! With your strength, not only will you not be able to defeat Nan Ruofeng in a year's time, you will only embarrass my sword peak. Even if you have to crawl, you have to attack. No, I don't know how to crawl, but I can attack. Yi Fei got up from the ground for the umpteenth time. Stubborn. Pa! Sword Maniac Elder didn't show any mercy. The cold stone sword once again sent Yi Fei flying to the edge of the cliff. If Yi Fei took another step back, he might fall into the bottomless abyss. However, Yi Fei didn't retreat. Instead, he vomited blood and stood up shakily. He said loudly, Not only am I stubborn, my sword is even harder. Boom! An even more resplendent sword light appeared in his hand. It was no longer a sword, but a spatial crack. However, Sword Maniac Elder's sword was even faster. Before the spatial crack formed, the ordinary stone sword actually shattered the spatial crack. As expected, Yi Fei was sent sprawling on the ground again. Witnessing Sword Maniac Elder's training process with their own eyes, Qi Chuchu and the others were all frightened. Luo Shi looked at Jing Wushou with lingering fear. Senior brother Jing, is this what you meant by simple and honest? This kind of training is simply demonic. Junior brothers, calm down, calm down. Although our sword peaks training is a little harsh, it is very effective. Jing Wushou explained with a smile. It wasn't easy for Sword Peak to have so many people, and he didn't want them to be scared away. Hearing Jing Wushou's words, Yang Xiao almost vomited blood. Jing Wushou, do you think it's a little harsh? Yi Fei's perverted defense couldn't even withstand one attack. If Lin Sun and I went up, we would probably lose 2 lives with one attack. Qi Chuchu sighed and smiled bitterly. I finally understand why Sword Peak is filled with perverts. Aside from perverts like you, no one else can withstand this kind of training. I've decided to go out and train. I'll come back to Sword Peak to train after I break through to the martial honorable realm. Although Qi Chuchu was a woman, she was much more decisive than many men. After witnessing the frightening cultivation method of the Sword Peak, Qi Chuchu, who had been provoked, turned around and left the Holy Land. Evidently, she would not return to the Holy Land until she had broken through to Martial Saint. Lin Xin and Yang Xiao looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Let's go and train too. Yi Fei is so hard-working we can't lose to him. Luo Shi, will you come with us? The two of them invited Luo Shi. After all, Luo Shi was the weakest here and he was also Yi Fei's good brother. The two of them wanted to take care of him. Luo Shi shook his head. Thank you, senior brothers. However, I can't always rely on Brother Fei. I need to stand beside Brother Fei and hide behind him. I've decided to return to the Luo family and obtain the complete beast spirit technique. Please let Brother Fei know. Chapter 309. Half-step to Martial Honorable Yi Fei, who was immersed in his cultivation, did not know that his group of friends had been scared away by Sword Peak's abnormal cultivation method. In fact, after being tortured for so long, Yi Fei also wanted to run away. However, he was still unwilling to accept this. Why was he able to defeat Nan Ruofeng's clone, who was a half-step to Martial Honorable, but he could not defeat Sword Maniac Elder, who had suppressed his cultivation to a half-step to Martial Honorable? There must be something behind this that he could not figure out. As long as he could not figure this out, he would not leave. Even if Sword Maniac Elder defeated him time and time again, he would stand up again and again. The indestructible sword soul in his body continued to release black energy, instantly healing Yi Fei's injuries. Yi Fei fell to the ground again and again, but he quickly got up from the ground again and again. Again. Bang. Again. Pah! Damn it, I don't believe that I can't even withstand a single strike from Sword Maniac Elder. Boom! Before he could finish speaking, Sword Maniac Elder slapped Yi Fei from the top of the mountain to the bottom with his stone sword. He scolded angrily, Yi Fei, you're too weak, too stupid. You can't even withstand my most basic strike. How can you fight against Nan Ruofeng? I'll give you one more day. If you can't do it, get out of the mountain. Sword Maniac Elder turned around and left. This was the first time Jing Wushou had seen his master so angry. He could not help but think of the miserable years when he had just joined Sword Peak. Junior brother, you're on your own now. Although Master is a little strict, he is actually very simple and honest. He's just not good at expressing himself, Jing Wushou explained with a smile. He did not want to scare Yi Fei away. Yi Fei wanted to vomit blood. Was Sword Maniac Elder simple and honest? He was simply a demon. And that sword technique, why did it give him a familiar feeling? Yi Fei found it strange, but then he felt an intense pain in his body. At that moment, Yi Fei realized that in this battle, he had actually been beaten up by Sword Maniac Elder for 10 days and 10 nights. More importantly, in such a long period of time, he had unleashed more than 10,000 strikes, but he could not even block Sword Maniac Elder's most basic stone sword. As expected, I am very weak, but I will not admit defeat. Sword Maniac Elder is right. Sword Maniac Elder is right. If I cannot even block his most basic stone sword technique, 1 year, What qualifications do I have to fight against Nan Ruofeng? And Yi Fei thought about Nan Ruofeng's evaluation of him, of all the experts in the Mountain River list. That's right, in the eyes of the experts in the Martial King realm, the current me is just a laughable ant, but even the weakest ant has the possibility of becoming strong. I will never admit defeat. If his talent was not enough, then he would put in 10 times the effort. If 10 times was not enough, then he would put in 100 times, 1,000 times. Faintly, Yi Fei understood why Sword Maniac Elder wanted to train him so cruelly. Senior brother Jing, I have something to ask of you. Yi Fei looked at Jing Wushou. Jing Wushou nodded his head. What is it? I want senior brother to exchange all of my contribution points for heaven-grade pills. Yi Fei clenched his teeth. He did not want to be beaten up again. He wanted to see through Sword Maniac Elder's stone sword's secret. Therefore, he had to use the undying sword soul to increase his comprehension ability. All right. Jing Wushou nodded his head happily. He took the order badge that Yi Fei handed to him and turned to leave. A day later, Jing Wushou returned. He brought a total of 200 heaven-grade pills to Yi Fei, which surprised Yi Fei. To exchange for heaven-grade pills, the amount of contribution points required was astonishing. Even if he had more than 100,000 contribution points, Yi Fei thought that he could only exchange for 100 pills, and that was the limit. But now there was an extra 100 pills. What was going on? Could it be that senior brother Jing had exchanged the contribution points that belonged to him? Senior brother Jing, I cannot take all of these. Yi Fei panicked. 100 heaven-grade pills were equivalent to more than 100,000 contribution points. Although he was touched, he could not take them for free. Stop bullshitting. If you are unable to take Master's sword later, you will roll down the mountain. Remember, do not disappoint Master's expectations, and do not ruin Sword Peak's reputation. Jing Wushou laughed and turned to leave. He did not feel that there was anything wrong with spending more than 100,000 contribution points. This was Jing Wushou, this was Sword Peak. This was how a senior brother should be. Yi Fei did not say anything, but he suddenly felt like crying. But the world of martial arts did not believe in tears. Power. Only power can give me everything. Only power can give me the chance to repay Elder Sword Maniac and Jing Wushou's kindness. Suppressing the emotions in his heart, Yi Fei's expression became resolute once more. Then, he swallowed all the heaven-grade pills one by one. The undying sword spirit cheered, as if it was very satisfied with the quality of these pills. At the same time, a large amount of black energy was released, instantly healing Yi Fei's injuries. At the same time, Yi Fei's comprehension improved tremendously. Why can't I block the old Master Jian's seemingly ordinary sword? Why do I feel that the old Master Jian's sword moves are very familiar? What is the relationship between these two? Yi Fei asked in his heart, not only to himself, but also to the sword spirit. Heart illumination. Yi Fei was deep in thought. This time, he was not simply communicating with the sword spirit using his mind. More importantly, he was transmitting his feelings to the undying sword spirit. At the same time, he also hoped that the undying sword spirit could transmit its feelings to him. This was the first time Yi Fei had truly communicated with the undying sword spirit's feelings. He had thought that it would be very difficult. In fact, the result was much easier than he had expected. Sensing Yi Fei's feelings, the undying sword spirit responded very happily. Boom! An ancient sword shadow suddenly appeared in Yi Fei's mind. Then, it turned into a smooth stone sword. This stone sword flashed continuously, displaying one mysterious sword move after another. That's the old Master Jian's sword move. That's not right. It's the sword move of the heaven-burying sword. It's just that this sword move is simpler and has more variations. after carefully observing the sword shadows, Yi Fei finally understood why all his attacks were ineffective against the sword maniac elder. So, the move that the old Master Jian used was a modified version of the heaven-burying sword. It was also the strongest sword move of the First Holy Lord. However, this sword move does not suppress the heavens and the earth. It suppresses the opponent's true yuan and martial art. No wonder all my martial arts, no matter how strong my sword intent, were ineffective against the old Master Jian. From the very beginning, I had made a big mistake. Boom! A flash of understanding appeared in Yi Fei's mind. A strong sword light appeared on his body. The true yuan in his body suddenly flowed like water and gathered in his dantian, forming a true yuan cyclone. On the martial path, there was a strange phenomenon, gathering qi to form a cyclone. Half-step martial honorable. Cyclone to form a C. Martial honorable. Yi Fei would never have imagined that after being beaten by the sword maniac elder for 10 days and 10 nights, he would actually become a half-step martial honorable. Chapter 310. A shocking change in the imperial city this time. Before the sword maniac elder could draw his sword, Yi Fei had already made a move. He waved his hand and a wrought iron sword appeared in his hand. He waved the rusted sword. There was no shocking sword light or majestic vital essence. It was just an ordinary sword move, but it was extremely fast and suppressed. This is... The sword maniac elder was shocked and quickly raised his stone sword. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt his body stiffen. An invisible aura from the rusted sword had temporarily suppressed him, although it did not last for more than a breath. However, for an expert, this short period of time was enough to determine the winner. Clang! The rusted sword easily pierced through the stone sword and cut a hole in the sword maniac elder's sleeve. How is this possible? I must have seen a ghost. Jing Wushou's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Was he seeing things? A day ago, Yi Fei had been beaten up for 10 days and 10 nights. A day later, not only had Yi Fei broken through to half-step martial venerable, but he had also cut the sword maniac elder's sleeve with one sword move. However, the sword maniac elder did not care. For the first time, a gentle smile appeared on his serious face. Yi Fei, do you understand now? Thank you, old Master Jian. I understand where my weakness is. The heart of the sword follows the heart of the person. The strength of the sword moves is secondary. The person who uses the sword is the most important. In the past, I always followed the moves and practiced methodically, but that was just repeating the path of the predecessors. A true expert must walk his own path, Yi Fei said in a deep voice. Then, he respectfully knelt down and bowed to the sword maniac elder. He and the old Master Jian were not master and disciple, but they were more like master and disciple. He was a respectable elder. Seeing that Yi Fei only bowed and did not acknowledge him as his master, the sword maniac elder seemed to understand something. He smiled and nodded. Get up. This old man can only teach you these superficial principles. No, old Master Jian, what are you talking about? I still have a lot of things to ask the old Master Jian. Why don't we have another round? Yi Fei stood up excitedly. 10 years of hard work could not compare to a master teacher. This was the logic behind it. Yi Fei had only fought with the old Master Jian for 10 days and he had broken through to half-step martial honorable. If he continued fighting, there was a possibility that he would break through to martial honorable. Yi Fei felt that he was indeed too greedy. Hearing this, sword maniac elder's face twitched involuntarily as he waved his hand. There's no rush, you've just reached the half-martial highness realm. You need to consolidate your cultivation. How about this, I'll give you 10 days to consolidate your cultivation at the sword peak. Is that so? Alright then. Yi Fei felt a little regretful, but what sword maniac elder said made sense. After being tortured for 10 days, even if his body could withstand it, his mind was exhausted. Yi Fei could only bow to Sword Maniac Elder and then walk down the Sword Peak with Jing Wushou, chatting and laughing. Sword Maniac Elder also smiled as he watched Yi Fei leave. When there were no more outsiders, the sage-like Sword Maniac hurriedly wiped the sweat off his forehead and sighed, "This kid's comprehension is terrifying. I originally thought that I would have to fight him for a month before he would be enlightened. Who would have thought that he would be enlightened in 10 days? This is troublesome. In 10 days, he will challenge me again. If he is only a half-step martial honorable, I might lose. It seems inappropriate to fight him as a martial honorable." Sword Maniac Elder was in a dilemma on the Sword Peak. After returning to the Sword Peak to rest, Jing Wushou finally had time to tell Yi Fei where the 10th prince and the others had gone. When Yi Fei heard that everyone had gone their separate ways to improve their strength, he was happy but also a little regretful. "Forget about the 10th prince and the others. I know Luo Shi well. If he wants to leave, he will definitely tell me first. Why did he only ask Senior Jing to pass on the message?" Yi Fei had a feeling that Luo Shi's departure was unusual. At the same time, Zhao City, Imperial City. "Grandfather, do you really want to go with me to the Imperial City to see my father?" Zhao Yu stood outside the Imperial City and looked hesitantly at the old mansion master who had come with her. After all, the relationship between Tianyun Wufu and the imperial family was very tense. Who knew what kind of conflict would occur if the old mansion master went in? The old mansion master looked very serious and looked at the imperial city with a complicated gaze. There's no harm in being careful. This time, the emperor suddenly fell seriously ill, and I have a feeling that something is wrong. With a martial honorable like me with you, I can protect you." Of course, this was the old mansion master's excuse. Although eunuch Zhang had been killed, the culprit behind the old mansion master's daughter's death, the Empress Dowager, was still alive. On this trip to the imperial city, on one hand, the old mansion master wanted to protect Zhao Yu. On the other hand, he wanted to test the Empress Dowager's strength. Zhao Yu understood this point, but she could not stop him. She could only sigh and step forward. Together with the old mansion master, they flew towards the imperial city. Who dares to trespass into the imperial city? The guards of the imperial city quickly discovered the two of them. On top of the city walls, the God Destroyer crossbows, which were specially used to deal with strong martial artists, were aimed at Zhao Yu and the old mansion master. This made Zhao Yu very angry. Although she was not favored in the imperial family since young, she was still a princess. Since when did these small guards dare to obstruct her? "I am Princess Zhao Yu. Who are you?" "I have an impression of the imperial city cavalry, but I have never seen you before," Zhao Yu asked suspiciously. "What? She is Princess Zhao Yu, an expert from the Sacred Land Mountain River list." "Princess, please forgive us. We did not know that Princess was coming. Please wait for a moment. I will inform the few eunuchs." The general in charge did not answer Zhao Yu's question. He only invited Zhao Yu down and rushed into the imperial city. This made Zhao Yu even more suspicious. She looked around the imperial city. Zhao Yu suddenly realized something strange. Not only were the guards around the imperial city all gone, even the palace maids and eunuchs walking around were different. She could not see a single familiar face. Adding that before she returned, the emperor was heavily injured and on the verge of death, Zhao Yu had an ominous premonition. "Where are you from? Why have I never seen you in the imperial city?" Zhao Yu grabbed a passing palace maid and asked. The palace maid was frightened and immediately knelt down. "Princess, please spare me. I don't know anything. I was only chosen to enter the imperial city a few days ago." "Then what about you? Where are you from? Speak, or don't blame me for being ruthless." Zhao Yu released her martial ancestor realm qi. If it were any other martial master, they would not be able to withstand the pressure and would tell Zhao Yu everything they knew. But this time, after hearing Zhao Yu's words, the guards all turned pale and knelt on the ground. No one dared to answer Zhao Yu's question. Something is wrong. Come with me. Whether the emperor dies or not, it has nothing to do with me. The old mansion master was very experienced. Chapter 3:11. Number 1 on the demon list. At that instant, a cold voice interrupted the old patriarch's action. Ha ha, this must be Princess Zhao Yu. She is indeed as beautiful as her name suggests. She is barely qualified to be the first wife. Right after he spoke, a youth in dragon robes walked over with a majestic gait. His gait was like a mountain. Immediately, all the pressure Zhao Yu placed on the surroundings was swept away. A rank 1 martial honorable? Who are you? Why are you wearing a dragon robe? The old mansion master yelled out. Even though he was also a rank 1 martial honorable, he did not know why he felt a sense of fear when he faced the young man in the dragon robe. Something's not right. I'll help you block him. You should quickly leave the imperial city and return to the Holy Land. The old mansion master instructed Zhao Yu in a low voice. No, I won't leave. My father and grandfather are here. If you want me to leave you all behind and escape, I can't do it. Who are you? Why are you in the imperial palace? What did you do to the imperial family of the Zhao kingdom? Zhao Yu glared angrily at the dragon-robed youth. She was sure that this person was not from the Zhao kingdom. Due to the protection of their ancestor, Zhao Yu, the members of the imperial family all possessed a portion of the Phoenix bloodline. However, most of the imperial family members were unable to awaken it in their entire lives. Only people like Zhao Yu could occasionally awaken it and sense the aura of others from the same clan. But that did not include the person in front of him. Are you talking about your father, Princess Zhao Yu? Don't worry, I didn't hurt him. I'll be with you in the future, and I'll be filial to my father-in-law, the young man in dragon robes said very proudly. His eyes were staring at Zhao Yu's body with incomparable greed. This abruptly made Zhao Yu feel a chill run down his spine. This was followed by intense anger. If Yi Fei were here, he would definitely scold this person for courting death. Why did he have to provoke this crazy woman? Everyone in the Holy Land knew that although Zhao Yu looked gentle and pleasant, she was actually very cruel. Hearing the young man's filthy words, Zhao Yu coldly snorted. The temperature around the dragon-robed young man rose rapidly, igniting a raging inferno. You'd better tell me what happened in the palace and what happened to my father. Otherwise, I don't mind burning you to death. Zhao Yu said coldly. If you burn me to death, then wouldn't you be murdering your own husband? In the heavenly cult, you'll be completely annihilated. The dragon-robed youth didn't even look at the flames around him. With a stomp of his foot, all the flames were torn apart. Around his body, 9 illusory images of true dragons appeared, looking extremely powerful. Leave quickly. I know who he is. He's Nangong Long, ranked first on the demon list of the heavenly cult. The old mansion master suddenly recalled something after observing the young man's martial skill, and a horrified expression appeared on his face. Zhao City had always been within the sphere of influence of the Taishan Holy Land. Now, not only had the heavenly sect entered, but they had also taken over the royal palace. This was clearly a very dangerous signal. What? Ranked first on the demon list? Zhao Yu was also shocked. Then, without saying a word, she turned around and left. She knew that with her strength, she would only be a burden to the old mansion master. The best thing to do was to escape immediately. You want to leave? You're lucky to be able to become my woman. Even if you want to leave, you'll have to wait until I take you and give birth to my children. To be honest, I, Nangong Long, have never played with a girl with the Phoenix bloodline. Nangong Long laughed wildly. He didn't even look at the old mansion master, who was rushing towards him. He directly rushed towards Zhao Yu, who was running away. The old mansion master wanted to stop him, but suddenly, 4 half-step martial venerables rushed out from the crowd. They were old eunuchs with cold expressions. They held horsetail whisks in their hands and withstood the old mansion master's attack together. They spat out blood and retreated. At the same time, the old mansion master was also pushed back a few steps by the 4 old eunuchs' combined attack. At this moment, Nangong Long also rushed to Zhao Yu's side. At the same time, he shattered Zhao Yu's protective true essence with his palm. At the same time, he rudely grabbed Zhao Yu's waist with one hand and said, "Princess Zhao Yu, I didn't expect you to have such a hot temper. However, I like it. Get your dirty hands off me." Zhao Yu was completely enraged. When she saw that Nangong Long wanted to use his dirty hands to hug her body, Zhao Yu's hair suddenly became as white as snow. Countless whistling ice blades covered the entire imperial palace. Under this horrifying cold chi, even the true dragon illusions around Nangong Long were frozen. Then, they were shattered by the ice blades that filled the sky. Nangong Long also did not expect Zhao Yu's phoenix bloodline to be so terrifying. It actually had the dual attributes of ice and fire. Immediately, the dragon robe on his body was torn to shreds and a small wound appeared on his face. Nangong Long was instantly enraged. There had never been a woman who dared to reject him. Not only did Zhao Yu reject him, she even injured him. Nangong Long could not forgive her for this. "Zhao Yu, as my woman, you still dare to resist me? Today, I will let you know the consequences of resisting. Sky Demon Kill. Rumble." The sky split open and a huge pitch-black demonic fist appeared. It smashed onto Zhao Yu's body without holding back. Nangong Long did not show any mercy with this punch. It was not enough for Zhao Yu to fall from the sky and vomit blood. Nangong Long even raised his foot arrogantly. With a whistling demonic chi, he was about to step on Zhao Yu's body. At this moment, Nangong Long's brutal side was completely revealed. This scene also caused the old mansion master's eyes to bleed. "Kill!" At this critical moment, the old mansion master blocked in front of Zhao Yu and used all his strength to slap at Nangong Long's descending feet. However, Nangong Long only sneered. The true essence in his body, with his feet as the center, suddenly exploded. While shaking off the old mansion master's palm, he also heavily stepped on the old mansion master's chest. "Get lost, you old bastard. Do you think that just because you are at the same level as me, you are a match for me, Nangong Long? If you weren't Zhao Yu's grandfather, I would have destroyed your soul in one move." Puff! The old mansion master spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest caved in as he fell to the ground. In just one move, he was severely injured by Nangong Long. This was the terror of the top expert of the Een Demon ranking. "Grandfather!" Seeing the old mansion master so severely injured, Zhao Yu's tears flowed out. Then, shocking anger and murderous intent appeared in her eyes. Zhao Yu ignored her own injuries and rushed towards Nangong Long. "You hurt my grandfather. I must kill you." "Ha ha, kill me. If you hadn't awakened the phoenix bloodline, you would only be my plaything." Nangong Long laughed wildly, completely ignoring Zhao Yu's attack. After all, the gap between their realms was too big. One side was the top expert of the Een Demon ranking, while Zhao Yu had just awakened her bloodline. Bang! Zhao Yu's fire pillar hit Nangong Long's body, but it couldn't even break Nangong Long's protective Jin Yuan. However, Zhao Yu's action had successfully angered Nangong Long. He quickly reached out his hand and shattered Zhao Yu's protective Jin Yuan. At the same time, Nangong Long had already grabbed Zhao Yu's snow-white hair with a cold smile and dragged her in front of him. With a cruel look in his eyes, Nangong Long raised his hand and was about to slap Zhao Yu's face. Of course, Nangong Long also used all of his strength in this slap. He didn't have any pity for Zhao Yu. If she was really hit, she would definitely be very miserable. Enough. Nangong Long, Zhao Yu is my great-granddaughter and your future wife. Why don't you stop? Before Nangong Long could make a move, Zhao Yu shouted. Chapter 312. The Princess Wedding. What, my future husband? Zhao Yu was shocked, but even more shocked was the noble lady who was hugging her. Without guessing, Zhao Yu knew who she was. Empress Dowager? That's impossible, you should be imprisoned by Uncle Zhao Qianjun, never to leave the Vermilion Gate. Zhao Yu wanted to retreat in fear, but she realized that the Empress Dowager was too strong, to the point that she did not even have time to retaliate. The true essence in her body was easily sealed by the Empress Dowager. Old witch, I'll fight it out with you. You killed my daughter that year, and now you want to kill my granddaughter. The old mansion lord was enraged. He did not hesitate to burn his life force and rushed towards the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager laughed coldly. She did not have any intention to attack. Nangong Long, who was by the side, laughed sinisterly. He rushed towards the old mansion lord and used the demonic kill again. The pitch-black demonic fist was as fast as a shooting star. Kacha! Kacha! The old mansion lord's hands and legs were all smashed by Nangong Long. A first-level martial honorable against a first-level martial honorable. The old mansion lord was not Nangong Long's opponent and was instantly defeated. He was heavily injured and lost his last chance to retaliate. But the old mansion lord did not care about his injuries. He only stared at the Empress Dowager, staring at Zhao Yu, whose cultivation was sealed. Old witch, why did you capture my granddaughter? Don't forget, Zhao Yu is in the top 10 of the Sacred Land's Mountain River list. If you hurt her, aren't you afraid that the Sacred Land will start a war with you? Ha ha, start a war with the Sacred Land that has declined to the extreme, old thing. You don't know how scary it is. The Sacred Land's direct disciple, Nan Ruofeng, has already expressed that he wants to mend the relationship with our Tian sect, not to mention this young master only marrying Zhao Yu. Even if I marry a few more, that Nan Ruofeng will not say a word. He might even send a congratulatory gift. Boom! As Nangong Long spoke, his face revealed a sinister smile. He was about to kill the old mansion lord. No. Zhao Yu struggled intensely. She was unable to use martial arts. She could only plead to the Empress Dowager. Empress Dowager, don't kill my grandfather, let him go. I'll do anything you want me to. Stop. The Empress Dowager laughed in satisfaction. He hurriedly ordered Nangong Long to stop. Unexpectedly, Nangong Long sneered and said arrogantly, If I stop just because you tell me to, then I, Nangong Long, will lose face. Old man, seeing that Zhao Yu is about to become my woman, I will only cut off your limbs. At the same time, I will also show your granddaughter the serious consequences of angering me. Outrageous! How dare you commit a crime in front of me? The Empress Dowager, the Empress, the Empress. Seeing Nangong Long's unruly appearance, the Empress Dowager waved her hand, and an extremely terrifying true essence slapped Nangong Long until he spat out blood. He rolled on the ground, unable to move. Martial level, martial, how is this possible? Old woman, you've been trapped for over 200 years. How can you break through so quickly? Nangong Long was thoroughly frightened. The arrogance on his face had turned into a deep sense of fear. The Empress Dowager did not say anything when she saw that Nangong Long still dared to act presumptuously. She harumphed coldly, and her vast true energy turned into a mountain-like pressure, causing Nangong Long to feel pain all over his body. He vomited blood and was almost crushed into a meat patty by the Empress Dowager's true energy. Aunt, I know I was wrong. Please spare my life, please spare my life. Nangong Long was terrified, and he hurriedly begged for mercy. This was the way of the demonic sections. They would listen to whoever had the harder fist. After experiencing the Empress Dowager's terrifying strength, even Nangong Long, who was ranked first on the demon board, did not dare to breathe too loudly. Humph, Nangong Long, listen to me. Zhao Yu is my favorite great-granddaughter. In the heavenly sect, there are many people who are stronger and more talented than you. I married Zhao Yu to you because you are a member of the Nangong family. If you dare to bully Zhao Yu after the marriage, I will not spare you. The Empress Dowager looked at Nangong Long coldly. With just one glance, Nangong Long was so scared that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Only now did he know how terrifying this aunt he had never met was. Nangong Long hurriedly nodded his head and greedily looked at Zhao Yu's beautiful face. He got up and patted his chest. Aunt, don't worry, I promise that I will treat Zhao Yu well. She is such a good beauty. If she did not anger me, I would not have hurt her. That's good. Zhao Yu, if he bullies you in the future, you can come to me. I will help you, the Empress Dowager said to Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu's face was ashen. She did not refuse, nor did she respond. She only coldly requested, let my grandfather go, and you can do whatever you want with me. Don't listen to them. Bang. Before the old mansion lord could finish his words, he was kicked 7 or 8 meters away by Nangong Long. Zhao Yu also looked at Nangong Long furiously. If she could fight now, she would risk her life to drag Nangong Long down and die together with him. What are you looking at? This young master didn't kill that old thing. Of course, if you're willing to be obedient and marry me, I'll naturally let that old thing go. Nangong Long's expression was indifferent as he winked at the 4 injured eunuchs. The eunuchs immediately rushed up and imprisoned the old mansion lord. Zhao Yu immediately panicked. She turned her head and looked at the Empress Dowager angrily. Empress Dowager, you better let my grandfather go. Otherwise, I will die immediately. The Empress Dowager seemed to have heard a funny joke. She touched Zhao Yu's face affectionately and said, Die? How can I bear to let you die? You are my most precious great-granddaughter. The bloodline in your body is very useful to the heavenly sect. However, Zhao Yu, don't worry. As long as you join the heavenly sect and marry Nangong Long, I promise that your grandfather will be fine. The Empress Dowager released Zhao Yu as she spoke. Then, 2 palace maids with cold expressions stood on Zhao Yu's left and right. They stood close to Zhao Yu and watched her every move. Bring the princess to my chambers. It is rare to meet such a considerate great-granddaughter. I want to have a good talk with her for the next few days. The Empress Dowager ordered the 2 palace maids indifferently. Yes, Empress Dowager. Your Highness, please forgive this servant for offending you. The 2 palace maids didn't care whether Zhao Yu agreed or not. They half-forced Zhao Yu to the Empress Dowager's chambers. Zhao Yu instantly despaired. She knew that her return this time was a trap carefully planned by the Empress Dowager. The funny thing was that she had actually been worried about the Emperor's illness and hurried back. Not only had she harmed herself, but she had also harmed her grandfather. Empress Dowager, you are really scheming. Father, I hate you. You didn't even look at my mother when she died. Now you are personally pushing me into the fire pit. Do you have any humanity left? Is the throne so important to you? Zhao Yu finally looked at the back of the crowd. Emperor Zhao was standing there quietly. He had a complicated expression on his face as he watched Zhao Yu being captured. He hadn't said a word since the beginning. It was only when he heard Zhao Yu's reprimand that the emperor became agitated. He said loudly, I had no choice. I didn't send that voice transmission talisman at all. Chapter 313. Forced marriage. Zhao Yu had a sad smile on her face. She wanted to be strong, but tears still rolled down her face like broken pearls. The 2 palace maids did not give the emperor a chance to speak. They forcefully supported Zhao Yu and left. The emperor's heart felt as if it had been pierced by something. The pain went deep into his bones. The emperor took a few steps forward. Due to his agitation, a martial arts grandmaster realm 10th realm expert, actually lost his composure and fell to the ground. This caused Nangong Long to mock him mercilessly. Ha ha ha, this is the descendant of Zhao Shenzhen? What a complete good-for-nothing! Nangong Long looked at the embarrassed emperor with disdain, then turned and walked into the palace. The Empress Dowager finally looked at the emperor with satisfaction and said indifferently, "Emperor, your performance this time is not bad. You don't have any thoughts of going against me. Don't worry, you are my grandson. As long as I am here, the Zhao family will prosper. When I am gone, your daughter will also make the Zhao family more prosperous." With a self-mocking look on his face, the emperor stood up from the ground and mocked, "Is it my Zhao family or the heavenly Yin sect that is more prosperous? Empress Dowager, you are indeed powerful. You are the holy master of the heavenly Yin cult, but you didn't hesitate to marry into a remote and desolate place like our Zhao kingdom in order to seize the treasure of our Zhao clan. In your eyes there is no kinship at all. We are just tools in your hands." Bah! The reply was a resounding slap from the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager became agitated for the first time. "Shut up! You have no right to interfere in my affairs. You only need to know that I am not only the saintess of the heavenly Yin cult, but also your great-grandmother. You just need to focus on being the emperor." Filled with rage, the Empress Dowager turned around and left. The surrounding guards, eunuchs, and palace maids all followed her. From beginning to end, no one turned around to look at the emperor. Only the old eunuch, Lu Chun, stood behind the emperor with a horsetail whisk in his hand. The emperor also touched his slapped face and looked at Lu Chun mockingly. Looking at this good friend who had betrayed him for 30 years? Confidant? Treacherous officials? Lu Chun, tell me, am I not very laughable? Ever since I became the emperor, I lost my best brother, the woman I loved the most, and I couldn't even protect my last daughter. Lu Chun was expressionless. He just looked at the emperor quietly. After a long time, he shook his head and said hoarsely, "I betrayed you 30 years ago. 30 years ago, you and I were brothers. Brothers who have gone through fire and water together." The emperor stared at Lu Chun, but he was disappointed. Lu Chun was expressionless. He had been completely defeated by the Empress Dowager's methods. The emperor was disappointed and sighed heavily. But soon, he pulled himself together and said word by word, "You betrayed me, but I don't blame you." Lu Chun's expression changed, seemingly surprised. The emperor did not look at Lu Chun. He turned around and looked at the magnificent palace. His body was so cold, but his body had never been as straight as it was now. "Lu Chun, I want you to do something for me. You want me to send the news of the princess's wedding to the Taishan Holy Land?" Lu Chun seemed to understand. "Wrong. I want you to tell the news of you Er's wedding to Yi Fei." The emperor still did not look back, but his words were unquestionable. It was like an imperial edict. It was so oppressive that Lu Chun was a little breathless. "If it weren't for the Empress Dowager, you would definitely be a good emperor," Lu Chun said with some difficulty. "Compared to being a good emperor, I would rather be a good father." The emperor's expression became serious. Then, he turned and walked into the palace. From beginning to end, the emperor did not look at Lu Chun again. This made Lu Chun a little confused and a little surprised. Faintly, he felt that the emperor now was a little different from before. "Wait a minute. Aren't you afraid that I will report this to the Empress Dowager?" Lu Chun stopped the emperor, puzzled. The emperor smiled. This was the first time Lu Chun had seen the emperor smile in 30 years. The emperor looked at Lu Chun deeply and shook his head. "I know that you hate me, but you hate everyone except for one person. You betrayed everyone except for one person. But she is dead. She was killed by your own hands." Lu Chun's voice suddenly became especially cold. "Yes, she is dead. But she will always live in my heart, and even more so in your heart. Even if I forget her one day, you will not." The emperor sighed and walked into the cold palace dejectedly. He walked towards the throne of the emperor that he had become a puppet. He did not say another word to Lu Chun. Lu Chun did not say another word either. The two of them stretched out their backs like that. The distance between them was getting farther and farther. Lu Chun's dead heart had already stirred up slight waves. "Your Majesty!" Lu Chun knelt down and faced the emperor's back. "I have betrayed you for 30 years. I am very happy that you can trust me for another day." After saying this, Lu Chun left the palace and the imperial city without looking back. On this day, Yi Fei was still practicing swordsmanship on the sword peak. Jing Wushou suddenly returned to the sword peak in confusion and asked Yi Fei, "Junior brother Yi, do you know a eunuch named Lu Chun?" "Lu Chun, eunuch. Why would I know a eunuch for no reason?" Yi Fei was a little confused. Jing Wushou's expression was even more strange. He suddenly took out a red wedding invitation and handed it over. "Then why did he send you this wedding invitation? And the one who sent me is a eunuch." Faintly, Yi Fei had an extremely bad feeling in his heart. He opened the wedding invitation and looked at it. Yi Fei immediately felt as if there was a clap of thunder in his head. Zhao Yu actually got married. The other party is actually Nangong Long, the #1 expert on the Yin demon list of the heavenly Yin cult. That evil Empress Dowager is also the wedding host. Boom! Raging flames of anger burned from Yi Fei's body like a hurricane. Although he did not know what was going on, Yi Fei only understood one thing. With Zhao Yu's character of hating the demon path, she would never get involved with the people of the heavenly Yin cult, let alone get married. What? Zhao Yu is getting married to Nangong Long? What kind of joke is this? How can a disciple of our sacred ground marry an evil demon of the heavenly Yin cult? Jing Wushou was furious. Yi Fei was even more furious. If possible, he wanted to slash the heavenly Yin cult in half. Yi Fei's intuition told him that something must have happened to Zhao Yu. He would definitely not agree to this marriage. Fuck. Heavenly Yin cult, just you wait. After his anger, Yi Fei did not stop. He directly used the golden rock wings and rushed out of the sword peak. "I'll go. Junior brother Yi, what are you going to do?" Nan Ruofeng has made a rule. For the next few days, no disciple or elder is allowed to take a step out of the sacred ground. Jing Wushou shouted, "I'm going to rob the wedding." Yi Fei did not even have the time to listen to what Jing Wushou had to say. The moment he saw the wedding invitation, Yi Fei felt a burst of anger burning in his body. But before Yi Fei could really leave the sacred ground, outside the sword peak, Huang Xie and Ma Zai had already brought a dozen of Mountain River List disciples and rushed over upon hearing the news. They blocked Yi Fei and scolded him. "Yi Fei, what are you doing? Senior brother Nan has made a rule. From today onwards, the sacred ground will be closed for a month for internal reorganization." Reorganization, my ass. Boom. Yi Fei was in a fit of anger. With Huang Xie and Ma Zai blocking him, Yi Fei completely exploded. Using his finger as a sword, a gigantic sword image, bringing with it boundless anger, swept across. Huang Xie, Ma Zai and the dozen of Mountain River List disciples all vomited blood and fell from the sky. Ma Zai's face was filled with shock. 50% sword intent, half-step revered martial artist? What, half-step revered martial artist? Oh my god! Huang Xie was shocked and immediately covered his face. He was afraid of being slapped in the face by Yi Fei. Chapter 314. Stepping into the Imperial City, 50% sword intent, half-step martial honorable. What's wrong with Yi Fei? How long has it been since he entered Sword Peak? How did his strength increase so much? An elder was shocked. This is Sword Peak after all. Unfortunately, no matter how fast his strength increases, he doesn't have a special body constitution. Compared to Nan Ruofeng, He's just a mediocre person, an ant. That's right, stop Yi Fei. We can't let him ruin Nan Ruofeng's and our sacred land's plans. When they saw Yi Fei's strength, the elders were shocked at first. Then, they prepared to charge forward and take Yi Fei down. Some of them even shouted at him. Vile spawn, stop. Mending the relationship with the heavenly Een cult is an important step for Nan Ruofeng and us elders to prosper the sacred land. If you dare to ruin it, you're betraying the sacred land. Ha ha ha, betrayal, what a serious crime. As elders, you don't know how to protect your disciples. Instead, you sacrifice your disciples' happiness to curry favor with the heavenly Een cult. You bunch of good-for-nothings, how can you call yourselves elders? So what if I betray such a sacred land? Yi Fei was furious. Zhao Yu's matter had already made him very angry, and these elders actually wanted to stop him. Since this was the case, he could only kill his way out. Kill. A glaring sword light burst out from Yi Fei's fingertips like the sun. It formed a huge sword shadow and slashed toward the elders who were surrounding him. This time, Yi Fei did not hold back. This sword was filled with Yi Fei's anger and killing intent. Ma Zai and Huang Shu's expressions changed. At this moment, they realized how big the gap between them and Yi Fei was. Compared to Yi Fei, their actions were as shameful and laughable as clowns. The elders were enraged. A disciple actually dared to attack them elders. He was truly audacious and had no respect for his elders. Kill this evil disciple. It was unknown who had shouted from the crowd, but the elders, who were already furious, all roared. Streams of majestic true energy were released from their bodies. Each stream was enough to destroy a mountain range. If so many elders really wanted to kill Yi Fei, no matter how strong Yi Fei's defense was, he would definitely be killed in an instant. Right at this moment, on the sword peak, Jing Wushou made his move. With a roar, his fleshly body surged with the power to tear apart the void. With a single step, he appeared in front of Yi Fei. Yi Fei, go. I'll help you block these people. Jing Wushou, are you crazy? Yi Fei is a traitor. Are you going to follow him and ruin the Holy Land's plan to prosper? An elder cursed. What answered them was Jing Wushou's thunderous roar. Bullshit daxing. I don't care if all of you want to curry favor with Nan Ruofeng or flatter the heavenly Een cult. But since all of you dared to offend the members of my sword peak, then I have no choice but to interfere. Who will fight me, or you bunch of old fools? Fight me together. Boom. A shocking sword intent tore through the sky. Jing Wushou was infuriated. He pulled out his heavy sword and forcefully chopped down at an elder. The powerful sword qi instantly shattered that elder's protective Jin Yuan. It also scared the other elders into retreating as if their lives depended on it. Jing Wushou is also a traitor. The entire sword peak is rebelling. Go and ask Nan Ruofeng and the Holy Lord to come out. Go. Jing Wushou ignored the elders who retreated and shouted at Yi Fei. You must bring Zhao Yu back. Even if you have to risk your life, you can't let a disciple of the Holy Land marry that bastard Nangong Long. Senior brother Jing, thank you. Yi Fei's face darkened. He knew that Jing Wushou was taking a huge risk by doing this. He would never forget this favor. Similarly, he would never let Jing Wushou's efforts go to waste. I will definitely save Zhao Yu. While Jing Wushou forced the elders to retreat, Yi Fei used all his strength to rush towards the entrance of the Holy Land's small world. However, when he got close to the entrance of the small world, a figure silently stood at the entrance, staring coldly at Yi Fei. Nan Ruofeng had a mocking and disdainful expression on his face as he attacked indifferently. And, do you think that you can go against me because I've been too tolerant of you? Go back. I'll kill you in a year. Heaven-covering hand. Nan Ruofeng's palm slowly reached out to grab Yi Fei. He was like a giant who wanted to crush an ant. Yi Fei was terrified and furious. He was no match for Nan Ruofeng, who was a martial king. Nan Ruofeng, you've gone too far. Since you've given Yi Fei a year, you can't attack Yi Fei in this year. Suddenly, Yi Fei's body was gently pushed away. An old but tall figure stood in front of Yi Fei and easily neutralized Nan Ruofeng's martial king attack. Nan Ruofeng's expression immediately turned gloomy. Sword Maniac Elder, I knew you would stop me. You were able to stop me last time, but this time, no one can stop me. Only I, Nan Ruofeng, can lead the Holy Land to prosperity. This ant, even if you protect him for his entire life, he will always be an ant. No matter how weak an ant is, there will always be a time when he transforms. As long as he doesn't die, he will always be able to stand out. Nan Ruofeng, don't forget that everyone has a time when they are weak. Before you become a martial king, you are also an ant. Yi Fei took a step forward and finally shattered the pressure that Nan Ruofeng exerted on him. Impudent! You evil disciple, you are indeed as undisciplined and deranged as the rumors say. I'll kill you today. A golden-haired old man appeared silently beside Nan Ruofeng. He didn't even look at Sword Maniac Elder and was about to kill Yi Fei on the spot. The terrifying pressure shook all the elders and disciples nearby. They all spat out blood and flew back. Even the proud Nan Ruofeng had to take a few steps back at this time. There were only 3 people present who didn't retreat. They were Jing Wushou, Yi Fei, and Sword Maniac Elder. Without saying anything, Sword Maniac Elder raised the stone sword in his hand. As he forced the golden-haired elder to retreat, the simple stone sword pierced through the void and shattered the small world of the Holy Land. Go! Sword Maniac Elder slapped Yi Fei into the cracked opening with a palm. Old Master Jian, thank you! Yi Fei held back his tears and rushed out of the crack without looking back. With one step, he stepped out of the small world of the Holy Land and appeared outside Taishan City. Then, Yi Fei saw a familiar voice standing on the city wall of Taishan City, smiling and waving at him. It was Wang Bai. Yi Fei was very shocked. He quickly rushed over and asked, Wang Bai, why are you outside? How did you get out? Now that the Holy Land was completely sealed, it was reasonable to say that Wang Bai, with his low strength, shouldn't be able to rush out. Wang Bai's clothes were whiter than snow. He smiled and said, I heard that you are going to save Zhao Yu. Do you know that once you go, you will probably die? Yi Fei was silent. Then he said firmly, Even if I die, I will go. You know that you will die, but you still want to go? Wang Bai seemed surprised. Yes, even if I die, I can't watch Zhao Yu be pushed into the fire pit. Like you, he is my good brother. Yi Fei looked at Wang Bai seriously. Chapter 3:15. I'll take her away. 10,000-mile instant talisman? A super-powerful talisman that could allow one to travel 10,000 miles with a single thought? Yi Fei looked at the piece of rotten wood in his hand and the crooked words on it, as if they had been gnawed on by a dog. He found it hard to believe that this thing had such a miraculous effect. Wang Bai, what exactly is this? Yi Fei, we're brothers. Don't ask so many questions. Zhao Yu is still waiting for you. I don't have the strength to save her. The only one who can save her is you. Hurry up and leave. Rumble. The void in the distance trembled. Another huge crack appeared in the small world of the sacred land. Yi Fei finally stopped hesitating. He knew that if he didn't leave now, he would never have another chance. Wang Bai, come with me. Yi Fei infused his true yuan into the piece of rotten wood in his hand and wanted to pull Wang Bai away with him. Wang Bai smiled faintly and easily avoided him. Yi Fei, go. I'm just an outer disciple. The sacred land doesn't need to make things difficult for me. Remember, don't throw this talisman away after you've used it. Remember to think of me in times of crisis. Wang Bai stroked his long eyebrows, smiling as he nodded at Yi Fei. At the same time, the 10,000-mile flash talisman, had already turned into a ball of golden light, taking Yi Fei with it as they disappeared from the spot. Yi Fei finally realized how terrifying it was to travel 10,000 miles with a single thought. No, the talisman written on this piece of rotten wood was even more exaggerated than that. Just a moment ago, Yi Fei had been talking to Wang Bai. But in just a few breaths of time, the light of the talisman faded away. Yi Fei was shocked to find that he had already crossed hundreds of thousands of miles and appeared in the Zhao State's imperial city. The imperial city was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. There was a jubilant atmosphere everywhere. The commoners were also wearing colorful clothes, as if they were celebrating the wedding of the princess. However, if one observed these commoners carefully, they would realize that none of them were smiling sincerely. The entire imperial city was filled with soldiers and horses. Amidst the festivities, there was a sense of somberness and bitterness. The warriors in the imperial city were even more anxious. No one had expected that the first thing the Empress Dowager did after coming out of seclusion would be to announce that Zhao had left the Taishan Holy Land and should join the Heavenly Yin cult. For this reason, the royal family of Zhao Kingdom wanted to marry Princess Zhao Yu to Nangong Long, the #1 expert on the Yin demon list of the Sky Yin cult. But what was Nangong Long doing now? Nangong Long was very pleased with himself as he sat on the dragon throne. To his left was fine wine, and to his right were several Zhao class beauties from the imperial city. They smiled obsequiously as they snuggled up to Nangong Long. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the clothes on their bodies were constantly being stripped away. On the other side, Zhao Yu was dressed in a red wedding dress with a phoenix crown on her head. Even though her face was covered by a veil, it couldn't hide her devastatingly beautiful appearance. However, Zhao Yu's expression was very cold. It was as cold as ice and as cold as iron. She was so disgusted with Nangong Long that she didn't even want to look at him. If possible, Zhao Yu wanted to commit suicide on the spot to avoid this humiliation. However, she couldn't. Her grandfather was being locked up by 4 old eunuchs in the imperial prison. Her father, who she hated the most, was in an even more miserable state. The dignified emperor was being punished to kneel outside the Meridian Gate. The reason was that the emperor had once again gone against the Empress Dowager's will and sent Lu Chun to deliver a message to the Taishan Holy Land. This time, the Empress Dowager was truly furious. Because of this, the dignified emperor of a country was being forced to kneel outside the gate in front of everyone. This was a great humiliation, but this was the cruelty of the martial arts world. Without strength, the emperor of a country might not be able to rule over the world. In the entire Zhao kingdom, there was only one person who could rule over the world. That was the Empress Dowager. Looking at the expressionless emperor who was still kneeling at the Meridian Gate, Zhao Yu finally understood how much this person had done for her in silence. He might not have been a good emperor, but he was definitely a good father. However, is sending a message to the Taishan Holy Land useful? The Heavenly Yin cult has controlled the imperial city for so long, but the Holy Land has not responded. Obviously, the Holy Land has already given up on Zhao and me. Nan Ruofeng, who wants to reconcile with the Heavenly Yin cult, will definitely not allow the Holy Land to send people to save Zhao. Instead, it is very likely that they will send Zhao to the Heavenly Yin cult as a gift for reconciliation. Even though her cultivation was sealed, Zhao Yu's mind was still very clear. After experiencing the despair of waiting for the Holy Land's rescue, Zhao Yu had even decided that once her father and grandfather were safe, she would immediately commit suicide to avoid the humiliation that would follow. However, the Empress Dowager's methods were too terrifying. Not only had she arranged for 2 palace maids in the martial Grandmaster realm to take turns watching over Zhao Yu, but she had also threatened Zhao Yu. If Zhao Yu didn't agree to the marriage, she would personally cripple the emperor and the old estate master. Zhao Yu didn't dare imagine such a scene. In the face of the Empress Dowager's threat, she could only choose to temporarily submit. As she thought of this, Zhao Yu's heart sank. She finally raised her head and glanced at Nangong Long, who was still seeking pleasure. Nangong Long also stared greedily at Zhao Yu's body. Without any scruples, he teased, "Princess, you don't have to be jealous. I'm just playing around with these women. I, Nangong Long, am serious about you. After today's marriage, I will let you know how blissful it is to be my woman." Zhao Yu glanced coldly at Nangong Long. Her gaze was as if she wasn't looking at a person, but an animal. When he felt this gaze, a violent glint flashed across Nangong Long's eyes. Under the influence of alcohol, he strode over and grabbed Zhao Yu's hair. "Zhao Yu, what kind of look is that? Let me tell you, from today onwards, everything you have will be mine. If I'm happy, I'll play with you. If I'm unhappy, I'll beat you." "How dare you?" Zhao Yu raised her head and stared coldly at Nangong Long. Her gaze was so cold that Nangong Long couldn't help but shiver. "The Empress Dowager has arrived." The eunuch's cold and loud voice reverberated throughout the palace. The Empress Dowager, the woman who had ruled Zhao Kingdom for more than 200 years, walked out in an incomparably noble manner. No one dared to raise their heads. The civil and military officials who were celebrating all bowed their heads. The palace maids and eunuchs on the ground all kowtowed. Zhao Yu's expression changed. It turned gloomy and hopeless. Nangong Long's face lit up with joy. He was so happy that he danced with joy. His hand, which had originally been grabbing Zhao Yu's hair, quickly turned to grabbing Zhao Yu's soft little hand. "Haha, your aunt has come out. Let's go through the wedding ceremony now. From today onwards, you are my woman, and I am your husband. Tui, take your dirty hands away. You are not fit to be my husband." Zhao Yu quickly got up and spat on Nangong Long's face in front of everyone. "Bitch!" Nangong Long was instantly enraged. The anger that he had been suppressing burst out again. With a strong wind, he was about to slap Zhao Yu's face. Boom! At this time, the palace shook violently, and the palace gates shattered. Large groups of palace guards were swept away by the sword chi like fallen leaves in the autumn wind. Yi Fei walked step by step through the crowd of guests and entered the palace. Zhao Yu felt as if something in her heart had been broken. She looked in disbelief at the person who was walking in. "Yi Fei, it's really him. He actually broke in?" Zhao Yu was very shocked, but she couldn't help but show a touch of surprise on her face. "Yi Fei, you are that Yi Fei. Didn't Nan Ruofeng say that the Taishan Holy Land would not interfere with the wedding of Zhao Yu and the Tianyin sect? What are you doing here?" The Empress Dowager stood up in shock and anger. Her aura was like the sea and the abyss. Chapter 316. I want to leave with him. I will take her away. These few words were simple, but to say it in front of all the officials, in front of the Empress Dowager, in front of the top expert of the Yin Demon list, Nangong Long, how difficult was that? Boom! All the officials were shocked. The Empress Dowager was also in disbelief. Could it be that Taishan Holy Lands had changed their mind? But how could that be? With Taishan Holy Land's current decline, would they dare to start a war with the Yin sect at this time? This was the first time that the Empress Dowager, who had calculated everything, saw an accident in Yi Fei. Of course, this was not the first time. "How dare you?" Nangong Long was completely enraged. First, Zhao Yu, his future wife, was cold to him, and now Yi Fei stood out and said such words. But Nangong Long was tyrannical, but he was not a brainless person. Seeing that Yi Fei dared to kill his way into the Zhao Palace alone, he had to be more cautious. Even the Empress Dowager looked at Yi Fei with some apprehension. Yi Fei was not scary, but if Yi Fei had the entire Taishan Holy Lands behind him, then it would be troublesome. "Yi Fei, are you representing Taishan Holy Lands to speak to me?" The Empress Dowager stood up. This noblewoman, for the first time, looked at Yi Fei, and then she noticed Yi Fei's strength. Earth grade 6 talent, half-step martial honorable realm, you can take first place in the Mountain River list? The Empress Dowager did not expect that Yi Fei's talent would be so ordinary. Nangong Long was even more impolite as he mocked. What, only Earth grade 6 talent, a trash without any special body constitution, such trash, can become first place in the Mountain River list? Through this trash, I can imagine how much the Tai Xian Holy Lands has declined. Ha 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 ha. All the disciples from the Yin sect started to mock him. Yi Fei also laughed, but he did not say anything. Sometimes actions were more effective than words. Kill. Without another word, a shocking sword intent appeared on Yi Fei's body. The sword intent soared to the sky, causing all the martial artists' swords to roar. Then 10,000 swords filled the sky and gathered around Yi Fei. With a move of Yi Fei's finger, 10,000 swords, like a storm, pierced towards the people who were mocking him. Pooh! 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 Blood splattered everywhere and screams of agony rang out. The mocking laughter in the palace had completely stopped. All that was left was a ground full of corpses. The corpses of all the disciples of the heavenly Yin cult. Nangong Long's mocking smile was still hanging on his face, but when he sensed how terrifying Yi Fei's sword intent was, even he couldn't help being startled. Even he had only comprehended 50% of his fist intent. On the other hand, Yi Fei's martial will had caught up to his when he was only a half-martial highness despite his ordinary talent. 50% sword intent. Yi Fei, I have no choice but to accept it. Your talent is pretty good. Unfortunately, you shouldn't have killed the disciples of my heavenly Yin cult. Even if you are number 1 on the Mountain River list. The Empress Dowager stared coldly at Yi Fei. The terrifying pressure was enough to crush a martial revered expert to death. Boom! Yi Fei's body suddenly blossomed with a blazing golden light. Like an ancient war demon, he strode towards Zhao Yu and the imprisoned old palace lord. Palace lord, you have suffered. Yi Fei bent down. The special metal-made Xian artifact chains were like noodles in Yi Fei's hands. Yi Fei crushed them with his bare hands. The old palace lord who was freed did not care about healing himself. He grabbed Yi Fei weakly and said, Yi Fei, leave quickly. Don't care about me. Bring you and leave quickly. Yi Fei nodded, then shook his head. He ignored everyone, including the Empress Dowager and Nangong Long. Yi Fei continued to walk forward to Nangong Long's side. Then, he brushed past Nangong Long's shoulder and walked towards Zhao Yu. How dare you! The 2 palace maids who were in charge of monitoring Zhao Yu immediately stood in front of Yi Fei. Then, they felt 2 rays of sword aura piercing through their bodies. At this time, everyone realized that above Yi Fei's head, there was a sword cloud formed by thousands of swords whistling through the air. As long as Yi Fei was willing, he could destroy the Imperial City's army anytime. This was the terror of a half-step marshal revered. It was also the terror of the number 1 on the Mountain River list. This was also Yi Fei's strength. Yi Fei, I owe you once again. But I know that you will not give up on me. The sacred land will not give up on me. Zhao Yu was crying, but she revealed a bright smile. Facing Yi Fei, she did not want Yi Fei to see her crying. Even if she was crying, she had to maintain her smile. What a stubborn woman. It's a pity that she does not understand the cruelty of the sacred land. However, Yi Fei did not explain why Nangong Long and the Empress Dowager did not take action. It was because they were like Zhao Yu. They mistakenly thought that Yi Fei's actions were ordered by the sacred land. Somewhere in the imperial palace, there was still a powerful expert from the sacred land. It was because of this misgivings. Seeing that Yi Fei did not have any misgivings and killed all the ordinary disciples of the heavenly Yin cult, the suspicious Empress Dowager could not make up her mind. The tyrannical Nangong Long also suppressed his anger. He only looked at the sky near the imperial city and scanned it. Yi Fei also successfully took advantage of the heavenly Yin cult's misunderstanding. Yi Fei walked up to Zhao Yu. He did not have time to say anything. He only asked, "Zhao Yu, are you willing to come with me?" Zhao Yu did not say anything. She only suddenly grabbed Yi Fei's hand. It was as if holding Yi Fei's hand would give her unlimited courage. "Empress Dowager, I want to go with him." Zhao Yu finally mustered up her courage and spoke the truest voice in her heart. At the same time, Yi Fei felt that Zhao Yu's grip on his hand was very tight and forceful. Clearly, Zhao Yu was very nervous at this moment. In fact, Yi Fei was even more nervous. After all, he had killed his way in alone. There were no reinforcements behind him. If Nangong Long or the Empress Dowager noticed this, there would definitely be a fierce battle. In order to avoid this situation, Yi Fei did not object when Zhao Yu held his hand. After hearing Zhao Yu's clear attitude, Yi Fei gave the old mansion master a look in the distance. Then, he pulled Zhao Yu and turned to leave. Zhao Yu suddenly understood something. Without another word, she held Yi Fei's hand tightly and prepared to walk out of the palace. The court officials who saw this scene were confused. What was going on? Wasn't the princess going to marry Nangong Long? Why did she suddenly say that she wanted to leave with another man at this time? Whoosh! Subconsciously, many people looked at the Empress Dowager and then at Nangong Long. The Empress Dowager was expressionless. She even looked a little suspicious. This was a common problem of old monsters who had been trapped for many years. Yi Fei had already experienced this with the Demon Emperor. However, Nangong Long could not. He was still young and impetuous. It was still a good day for him to get married to the princess. In the end, Yi Fei openly tried to snatch the bride away. Not only did he want to take Zhao Yu away, but Zhao Yu even agreed to it immediately. She did not care about her future husband's reputation and actually turned to leave with another man with their hands tightly clasped. Chapter 317. Fighting Nangong Long. Hearing Nangong Long's words, Zhao Yu couldn't help scolding angrily. "What do you mean by your woman? People like you only disgust me. I'd rather marry Yi Fei than marry you." Zhao Yu said this unintentionally out of anger. But in everyone's ears, it had a different meaning. It was as if Yi Fei really had something going on with Zhao Yu. In an instant, all the officials and generals looked at Yi Fei with strange expressions. Yi Fei felt like vomiting blood. God knew that there was nothing going on between him and Zhao Yu. Unfortunately, Yi Fei had forgotten that his hand was still holding Zhao Yu's. In Nangong Long's eyes, this was solid evidence that Zhao Yu had betrayed him. As the top expert on the Yin demon list, how could he accept this? "Yi Fei, fight with me. If you win, Zhao Yu will be yours. If you lose, prepare to die." Nangong Long angrily challenged Yi Fei. "Empress Dowager, I'm afraid it's inappropriate for young Master Nangong to do this," one of the 4 old eunuchs whispered to the Empress Dowager. Although the heavenly Yin cult was powerful, the Taishan Holy Land had existed for thousands of years. It wasn't easy to bully them. Most importantly, the heavenly Yin cult wasn't ready to go to war with the Taishan Holy Land. "It doesn't matter. Let these 2 juniors fight for a while. My great-granddaughter can only marry Nangong Long. How can I let her be taken away so casually?" the Empress Dowager said coldly. She seemed to be talking to herself, but also seemed to be talking to the air around her. But to the Empress Dowager's disappointment, no one responded to her. It seemed that the hidden experts of the Holy Land had no intention of interfering in this matter. This made the Empress Dowager even more suspicious. "Sorry, I'm not interested in fighting with you. Zhao Yu is also not an object that you can fight over." Yi Fei did not plan to pay attention to Nangong Long's provocation. He pulled Zhao Yu and was about to walk out of the palace. Zhao Yu immediately followed with a red face, allowing Yi Fei to continue holding her hand. When Nangong Long saw this scene, He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Zhao Yu, why are you so cold towards me? Why are you not even willing to let me touch your hand? Why are you so obedient towards this trash? I understand now. Do you like this trash? Very good. Today, I want you to personally witness how I, Nangong Long, will defeat him. Kill. Sky Devil, kill. Nangong Long punched out furiously. He didn't care whether Yi Fei agreed or not. The huge demonic fist shattered space and enveloped Yi Fei and Zhao Yu on the spot. Let's go. Take the old mansion master and leave the palace quickly. Yi Fei sighed. He understood that his bluff was effective against the suspicious Empress Dowager. However, it was not effective against the violent, young, and impulsive Nangong Long. Nangong Long, since you want to fight, I'll fight with you. Yi Fei activated the War Demon Golden Body and used the 7 Killing Fist to help Zhao Yu stall for time. The old mansion master quickly grabbed Zhao Yu and was about to leave. Come with me quickly. No, I'm not leaving. He said he would take me away. I can't leave him here to fight alone. Zhao Yu shed tears as she looked at Yi Fei, who was fighting Nangong Long. Go. If you don't go now, you won't have another chance. The Emperor, who was kneeling outside the Meridian Gate, suddenly rushed over. He grabbed Zhao Yu and the old mansion master and was about to rush out of the palace. You want to leave? None of you will be able to escape from me today. Stop them, the Empress Dowager ordered coldly. The surrounding palace guards subconsciously wanted to surround them. The Emperor was enraged. His aura of a martial ancestor, realm 10th grade martial ancestor, was exposed. He smashed the 2 traitors into meat patties on the spot. Who dares to stop me? Don't forget that this is the Zhao clan's empire. The Emperor's eyes were filled with anger and his aura was imposing. His words shocked the soldiers present and they did not dare to stop him. Emperor, you've grown up. How dare you disobey my orders time and time again? That's right. This empire belongs to the Zhao clan. However, I, the Empress Dowager, am in charge. Stop them. Yes. 4 feminine old eunuchs instantly surrounded the Emperor and the old mansion master from all directions, disregarding their injuries. The Emperor immediately fell into a tough battle. The old mansion master was severely injured by Nangong Long and could only use a small portion of his strength as a martial honor. Although they fought desperately to protect Zhao Yu and escape, everyone could see that the Emperor's side was bound to lose if nothing went wrong. The soldiers, who were still hesitating, became restless again. The Emperor and the old mansion master, who felt that it was impossible to stop them, looked anxiously at Yi Fei. They would not be able to hold on for long. The only person who had a chance to escape with Zhao Yu was Yi Fei. Now, they only hoped that the masters from the Holy Land behind Yi Fei would act quickly. After all, the Emperor and Zhao Yu were of the Empress Dowager's blood. The Empress Dowager could not bear to be ruthless. She only ordered the 4 eunuchs to stop the Emperor and Zhao Yu from escaping. At the same time, she looked suspiciously at Yi Fei. The Empress Dowager could not understand why the masters from the Holy Land had not appeared at this time. Could it be that they had so much confidence in Yi Fei? Of course, the Empress Dowager and the Emperor would never have dreamed that Yi Fei was the only one who had come this time. There were no masters from the Holy Land hiding in the dark. It was just that Yi Fei's domineering style had seriously misled them. However, Yi Fei would never say this out loud. Right now, he was fully focused on fighting Nangong Long. The 2 men's fists collided again and again. The 7 Killing Fists and the Heavenly Demon Kill were both heaven-level superior martial art. Their powers were equally matched. Although there was a difference in their cultivation levels, Yi Fei was still evenly matched with Nangong Long thanks to the War Demon Golden Body and the Undying Sword Soul's instantaneous recovery. The Empress Dowager, who was watching the fight, was shocked. How is this possible? This Yi Fei is only a half-step martial saint. How can he fight Nangong Long to a draw? A draw? Haha, Auntie, you've overestimated this piece of trash. He wants to compete with me for a woman? What a joke. Yi Fei, do you know what grade my talent is? Let me tell you, I have the Earth-ranked 10th grade demonic flood dragon body. Just my talent and physique alone can crush you countless times. Boom! As Nangong Long spoke, 10 dazzling black halos appeared on his body. That was the Earth grade 10 Dantian. As if he was showing off, Nangong Long roared again. A horn appeared on his forehead and a pitch-black scale armor appeared on his body. He looked like a black dragon man as he violently threw a punch at Yi Fei. Demon flood dragon body, heavenly demon kill. Nangong Long threw another punch. The huge black fist shadow suddenly turned into a pitch-black flood dragon's claw and ruthlessly slapped at Yi Fei's body. The space around Yi Fei instantly shattered. At the same time, Yi Fei's war demon golden body also shattered. This was the terror of the top expert on the Een demon ranking. Nangong Long was brutal, but his talent, physique, and strength had reached the peak of the younger generation. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.